Let's keep going through this grid here. So Cade Lehman, the best of the Victorians there in third place. He's going to have a very, very fast RX-7 right alongside him, the 2022 over 2 litre improved production champion from Morgan Park Raceway, where that was held, Zach Hudson. So beautifully prepared car there, number 65. So keep an eye out for him. We've been looking forward to seeing him and Ben Schutz going head-to-head. So that'll be a sight to see, two very fast RX-7 pilots. Aaron Lawrence there out of Queensland in position number 5, and alongside him from South Australia is from New South Wales, I should say, is Jason Clements. Mark DeFanis in the number 33, the black VF Commodore in 7th, and John Caligari, who's one of about 3 or 4 West Australians that have made the journey across. John's raced here before a couple of years ago at Island Magic, and he's going to start out of 8th. Ashley Saraceno out of position number 9 there. It's another one of the RX-7s. And, we've got some of the escorts in the under 2 litres. We've actually got one there sitting in position 10, Bruce Cook, number 37 out of Queensland. The 2 litre turbocharged Ford Duratec in the escort there. We're looking forward to seeing how he goes. Welcome back to Rick Hogan as well. He's had a couple of years away just in the Commodore there, starting out of 11th. Chris Thomas in the XU1 Tirana, which I said to David Cox when we were bumping the cars in, Luke, on Friday and Thursday, that I reckon seeing that little XU1 broke his heart because Gary was so close to getting his car up and running after the demise at Sandown.
Yeah, we all feel bad for Gary. I think he had a bit of a joke that it had a starter motor failure, which wasn't entirely untrue. I think the starter motor ended up somewhere near the chassis rail because the number 6 Conrod sent it out of its mountain somewhere into the chassis rail, but it's definitely sad to see that Gary's not here this weekend, because I don't think there's anyone that doesn't like seeing that Tirana.
He's running around the paddock doing all sorts of different things, but he is here, but would much prefer to be out there on the track, I think. The veteran Lee Forrest from Tasmania. I think I heard a little bit of a story that he's only ever missed 1 Nationals since the thing started. So one of the stalwarts of the category. Great to have him here, and he's there in 13th.
It's a lot of commitment over a lot of years, that, isn't it?
Certainly is. He's, I think, between himself and Gary McKay, they sort of epitomise what IPRA's all about, and the camaraderie and how it all comes to be. Scott Willing there, 14th in car number 41. Been a while since we saw Scott as well. Another Scott behind him, Scott McLean. I think Black Betty, as he calls it, car 78 there. 778 in position 15.
Punching above his weight in that car. And I think the other Scott there had a bit of a rebuild to do after Tasmania, I believe. I think he had a bit of damage to that car off the start line incident. So good to see him back out again this weekend.
Certainly is. Well, they're rolling out of the lane. We will finish the grid here. Graham McPherson out of Bendigo in position 16. Now, there was a little bit of a drama with that car following the photo shoot, so we'll wait and see what happens there. Peter Dixon in 17th. He's had a gearbox replacement, I believe, that's taken place today. So that was as a result after qualifying. He actually had to do some changes after practice yesterday. Stephen Campbell out of 18th. Andrew Barstow in the VW Golf in 19th. And Steve Johnston, the Stoll representative from the Northern Territory, there in 20th. We've actually got at least one competitor from every single IPRA state and territory here this weekend. So great to have him down from the Northern Territory. David Hulk, 21st. Rob Baird in the RX-7, the 777 there in 22nd. Rohit Saini's HSV in 23rd, and Andrew McMaster in 24th. We're still going over the page here. The little Audi of Adrian Taranto in 25th.
He'll be praying for rain this weekend.
He's probably not going to get it, but he'll be praying for it. You're absolutely right. Mark Kempster out of South Australia in the Mitsubishi Magna there in 26th. Graham Shea, Rob Neal, Greg Faggoter, Anthony Martin, who's another one of the Tasmanians there in 30th, and Stewie Dearden and Glenn Kennedy, who had some trouble in qualifying, and Ian Statham, 33rd, and he's unfortunately the tail end Charlie of this first over 2 litre race. I can actually see that it looks like Glenn Kennedy's managed to get going.
Yes.
I haven't seen Stewie Dearden's managed to get going as well. There is a straggler off the back.
There's Commodore.
Yeah, there's a Commodore that's just pulled over to the side. I think that's Anthony Martin and Nigel Williams. I think there was a car he's sort of taken onto the back of the field. We don't know if that's a mistake on the entry or what's happening there, but we'll soon find out. But as I called Anthony Martin's name, I think he might be
pulling that off the driver's left.
We believe he may not be taking start. Yeah, there he is. So he's actually pulled off in a similar spot to where Reece Howe pulled off after his little failure. So for Tony, that's a little bit saddening to see. recovery crews have deemed that the Anthony Martin VH Commodore is in a position where they're not quite comfortable with, and there it is, and the recovery crews are towing that vehicle around the circuit. So they're going to pull it off to the left there and probably cut across the infield and pull it back in at turn number 4. So safety first, as always, and that means the field gets another formation lap.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised if they were going to leave that car there. It's a fast run down there, and it's unlikely something will happen, but not impossible.
No, that's right. And when we've seen things happen there in the past too, I mean, he's going to probably hate me for mentioning this, but for David Cox, who came up about a week short of getting his car up and running for the Nationals, he actually went off a couple of years ago at that exact spot in a car-to-car contact situation and came off the left-hand side. And there is actually a little bit of a barrier. You can just probably sort of just see it. It's off to the left of your shot there. There's a little barrier that's sort of halfway down the verge, and he made some pretty nasty contact with that, and it was pretty much almost a nut and bolt rebuild for that car. So yeah, I can completely understand why the officials weren't comfortable with where Tony's car was.
Yeah, unfortunate for Dave. We're all we're looking forward to seeing that car back out. That's basically been down to a shell, and I believe it was on the rotisserie as how far down it came after that accident. So pity he's not out there this weekend. It's been a lot of work to get it fixed.
He was one of the first people after that accident, after he'd sort of got his bearings and all, to actually say that the seat that he had in that car and the harness and everything was what, you know, prevented him from getting any further damage. Like, he walked away from that car with a couple of little cuts from the glass and things like that, but he basically said, you know, if you can afford it, get the top level seat that you can get and put it in your car, because it pretty much, you know, saved him from serious injury.
It sure did, and the fact that he did walk away with basically the glass injuries were the worst bit of it is a testament to the strength of the seat and the way they're bolted in and the harnesses and everything. People just think these are little club level cars, but some of these cars are absolute monsters, and you know, you can still get hurt. You can still have big accidents. So always, if anyone's building a car, make sure you do not cut any corners with the safety, because that could have been a bad one down there, but it wasn't, because he's got all the right gear in it.
Certainly has. We're getting some word through that this race may be shortened. It was originally scheduled for an 8-lap duration, but we've now taken a lap off that because of the extra formation lap. So naturally that goes down to 7. We're getting some word through that it might be a 5-lap sprint. And I'll tell you what, in improved production, 5 laps is a sprint. You would know that.
It sure is. The one thing that's good with these Yokohama tyres is they do come on pretty quick, so you can normally do your fastest lap on about the 2nd lap. So if it is a bit shorter, hopefully these guys that are out there now will get their teams on the radio and whatnot telling them, because you can probably burn a little bit harder off the start.
Yeah, there'll be a handful of people that do have someone on the radio that'll be reporting down to them to say, you know, this lap or race has been shortened. I know for a fact Cade Lehman and Zach Hudson have both got people on the radios. You can actually tell that by the fact they've got a couple of little antennas sticking up the top of their cars. They're not the only ones. There will certainly be others that will be relaying that information to them to say this race officially has been shortened. So don't waste any time, but also don't make any silly sudden moves. The last thing they want is car-to-car contact and fender benders and things that have to be repaired in between now and the next heat races, because they do come up pretty quickly. And of course there is a track curfew of 6 o'clock. Everybody's got to be away from the track by 6, so you don't want to be forced into a repair that takes longer than it otherwise should.
Exactly right. Graham McPherson did make the grid. You were asking about him on the first outlap there. Green flag at the back, ready for a start.
Let's get this show on the road for the first of the over 2 litre races. Lights are on, lights are out. Poole walks it off the line beautifully. The champion from 2023 has launched towards turn 1, and he is left them in the dust. Lehman's had a brilliant launch from the 2nd row of the grid. He grabs Cook. He moves ahead into 2nd place. That demotes Cook down to 3rd place. He'll have to give some chase. Hudson's had a little bit of a tardy start and was a little bit loose there through turn number 1. He slots back in behind Defanis, who was sort of down the order a little bit. He was around about 8th in the starting grid. Hudson now fighting back on the outside at Southern Loop.
There was a bit of chaos at the back there. I saw Adrian Tranto and that all-drive out. He was doing some rallycross down the front straight in the grass. I'm not sure what happened there. We might be able to get a replay, but how's the pack coming down here into turn 4?
Oh, it's close confines.
It's going to be tight.
It's very tight. I think that was Aaron Lawrence who was in close confines with Cade Lehman in the Vodafone Tribute car. He went right around the outside at turn 4, and he's come out not only in front of Lehman, he's come out there in front of Clements as well. So he got a brilliant run out of turn number 4. He moves now onto the tail of Cook, who's also now managed to get back past Lehman after that ripper of a start.
Yeah, it looks like Lehman's been swamped down there in the slower couple of corners there. I'm sure he'll be able to make it up down the front straight again, but this is what we kind of expected in this category, especially with a lot of interstate competitors here with a lot of different cars. This is going to be some strengths and weaknesses here.
Listen to the roar as they go up and over Lukey Heights. You could hear it on the broadcast cameras. There's Caligari's in there, I think, behind Cook in the Escort. There's Lee Forrest, the little yellow Toyota Celica going at a shot. There's Steve Johnston in the number 51, the car that originally started its life in Victoria and now lives in the Northern Territory. Here's Hudson. Oh,
look at this.
Very, very sideways, coming onto the front straight, trying to apply the power. Somehow manages to do the old sprint car style slide up in front of Lehman. And this is where the horsepower takes over. That Commodore very, very quick in a straight line, and he gets that position back. But for how much longer?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Sudden Loop. I think that little RX-7, by the time they get out of Siberia there, will be back in front. How good is this?
Just look at them all coming through. Look at the little Tirana XU1. That's the number 17 there, Chris Thomas. He was right on the back of Graham McPherson. Sweeps around the outside. Such a more nimble bit of kit. Able to follow very, very closely through turn one and comes out with a position there. There's Rick Hogan, Reach Rockhart, number 124. Lee Forrest giving chase to him. Lee will be a little bit better under brakes here at turn 4 as Hudson now finds a way through on Lehman at Miller Corner. And this should now give him a little bit of breathing room because he'll come down through here at Siberia, get a little bit better traction out of the corner, and I think he'll be able to hold position as he closes up onto the back of Jason Clements in the 255.
I think he will. It's
Through they go. Big slide again from Hudson. That car is very, very loose, or he's pushing the limits extremely heavily. You can see there's a time penalty being handed out here for 5 seconds for Scott Cook. I'm wondering if that's usually the penalty for a jump start. There goes Hudson down the inside of MG.
It looked like he was rolling at the start, so I didn't want to say it on the coverage because I wasn't certain if he did or didn't, but I thought he was rolling, so I'd say that's what that penalty would be for.
So he's within touching distance at the moment of Aaron Lawrence, who has been, I think Drew Lawrence has been here before at Island Magic and had some success. Paul roars across the line and posts a 1 minute 39.85. So he is romping away with this one at the moment. Very, very comfortable margin. The battle behind is what we're interested in. Cook needs 5 seconds. At the moment, he's probably not going to get it over Aaron Lawrence, but he probably needs to try and get it over these two on the screen here, Clements and Hudson and Lehman. They're the ones that are sort of in that position where they could take advantage of that 5 second penalty. Yep, Clements wide, Hudson underneath.
So he's got the power to run down into turn 3 here. It's going to be interesting because he's on the left side, which is going to give him the run through 3, but then down in the braking zone into turn 4. It's obviously swaps direction, so the BMW is going to be on the right side. Nut moves across, cuts him over. Good move. I
don't think that was actually an intentional one from Hudson there. I think Clements sort of backed out of it a little bit, not wanting to go too wide through Stoner. And as a result of that, Hudson, when he took that line away, the car just naturally wandered up in front. They usually call that a block pass to be able to then cut that off there. And it just worked out really nicely for the RX-7. Here's the replay of the start. Check out Cook on the right-hand side there. Oh,
had a little creep.
Just a little creep.
So slightly.
So tight.
Yeah, block passes are normally really good during the stop-start corners. Like around Sandown, you can do some really effective block passes. They're hard to do through the faster-flowing corners, but you can see how much that little RX-7's moving around. He's driving the wheels off it. He
is. Rohit Saini here in the HSV GTS. A little bit of a roadblock, I think, at the moment for the recovering Peter Dixon. As we said, he had that gearbox change from practice yesterday into qualifying this morning, so he's trying to fight his way back from a little bit of adversity. There's Rob Baird in the 777, the blue and yellow Zebra, I guess, as we call it.
That car, Rohit Saini, it's more of a production car. It's got a very fresh engine in it this weekend, so interesting to see how that goes. It definitely doesn't have the horsepower of some of the full-blown improved production cars, but he's driving it pretty well.
Certainly is. David Holt now makes his way past Baird, and here comes, I think it's Kempster, I think, in the white Mitsubishi Magna on the outside here. The Mitsubits machine looking to go around the outside at turn number 12. That's a brave move if you can pull it off, but he somehow manages to stick it in there. Baird gives him a little bit of room. That's now bringing a couple of other fast cars into it. You've got Glenn Kennedy was back there looking to make a move. Here's Lehman. He's now managing to get past Clements as well, down into turn number 3. So Clements has lost 2 spots in 2 laps. Where's Hudson? something has happened to Zach Hudson. There he is. He's actually gone back behind Defanis and Caligari. He must have had an off somewhere. Yeah, he's got a little bit of something trailing from the back of the 65. And that doesn't look good.
Can't tell if it's the engine smoke or if it's leaking something, maybe out of a gearbox or a diff, but the fact it's slowing is a bit of a concern.
Yeah, that's. I believe they were looking at the engine multiple times over the course of practice and just checking on a few things and doing that throughout the course of Friday. So I'm wondering if there's something they've been keeping an eye on. Maybe has given up the ghost here. Yeah, he's actually just he's trying to putt around. I think he'd actually pick up some points because he'll know it's a 5-lap race. He's given a position there to his fellow competitor there in the number 29, Ashley Erasina. Now here's where it is here. It's at the last couple of corners, so it was a bit wide, and all of a sudden it's almost like something was choking the motor there because he just lost all of the straight line pace. Yeah,
it's smart. As long as it's not dropping oil or anything like that, smart move for him to just get around, do the last 2 laps, and just get some points. Progressive. The finals are
based on the points,
so every point's going to count for these guys this weekend.
Certainly is. Here goes, actually, it was Ian Statham, sorry, I apologise. I thought it was Kempster that was in the white Mitsubishi. It was actually Statham that was we were looking at before. So he's managed now to get down the inside of David Hulk in the 31. And then the number 154 machine back there, Stephen Campbell from South Australia. He's latched onto the back of his fellow South Australian in Statham there as well. Another one of the stalwarts that's been in improved production for quite some time.
He sure has.
We are on the final lap. Poole is cantering this one at the moment. He's got a nearly 11-second advantage. We'll try and pick him up when he comes across the line. As we can see here, Saney has just managed to get a little bit more margin in that car over the pack that was starting to form behind him as they pour into turn number 1. Glenn Kennedy hasn't sort of made too much of a headway from the back of the field here in the gold BMW E30. Andrew Barstow now rounds up David Holt.
Glenn's a fast guy, and that T30 is normally pretty quick. I'm surprised he hasn't been able to push through the field a bit more than he has.
Certainly, yeah. I know there's been some reliability gremlins with that car over the years, but maybe they're fighting a little bit of that and just wanting to try and get through the weekend.
You don't win it in the first race, you do in the last one. So
that's exactly right.
Play the long game.
And this man, well, this is a warning sign. He was a very, very heavy favourite, very heavy, or hard to go past him for an overs win this weekend. He sets the tone straight away. That's a big statement. Not only was qualifying him good for him, but he has cruised to a very, very big win there in the first heat race. Scott Cook, he's still playing second at the moment. He's got a little bit of margin. He pulled away from Aaron Lawrence in the end. What's the margin going to be, though? He needed 5 seconds. Lawrence across the line in third, Lehman fourth, Clements, and then it was Defanis. So when we try and tack on 5 seconds for Scott Cook, he's going to be fourth. I think it'll be fourth, just ahead of Clements. So it's not too bad a result for him.
How's this little battle back? They haven't been separated by more than a few car lengths for 5 laps.
Certainly is. And Scott McLean, he's now trying to round up Zach Hudson at the final corner here. Now this is important for Hudson. The most amount of points he can get, he's going to drop behind Steve Johnston. He drops behind Peter Dixon, and he comes across the line in 17th place, I think it is. Just trying to look at the timing there before it spilled over. We'll try and get a read on that in a minute. There's Kempster in the other Mitsubishi Magna coming down to the line here, just trailing the Audi S3 there of Adrian Taranto.
Interesting.
And a very good result for him. So, well, a little bit of a different flavour compared to the under 2 litre race where they were dropping off the road like flies. There wasn't too many sort of dropping off there, but there were a few people. I get the impression they were sort of, managing a few things here. Yeah, look at the smoke out the back of Hudson there. Oh, on top of that, Scott McLean Skip went for a bit of an adventure.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I wonder what happened down there.
I think that he'll probably tell me that he ran out of talent. I think is probably what the answer will be with that one.
That's the sort of thing a skipper would say, isn't it?
It certainly would be the thing he would say. Here's your top 10 results there. So Adam Poole, the 2023 champion, will be hard to beat this weekend. So good win for him. Ahead of his fellow South Australian Scott Cook, who will drop a couple of seconds there and probably be classified fourth. So we're expecting Aaron Lawrence and Cade Lehman will be 2 and 3 in that order. Then Clements, Mark Defanis, John Caligari from Western Australia, good result for him. Ashley Isaracina in 8th there. Good result for Bruce Cook as well in the escort there. 9th place for him, so he actually moved up a spot from where he started.
Top 10 finish for Rick Hogan. That's excellent for him.
That is excellent for Rick Hogan. He started in 11th, so he gains a spot there as well. And then over the page we go. Chris Thomas in the XU1. Lee Forrest picked up a spot. Scott Willing, Graham McPherson. Scott McLean, who we saw there in 15th, just ahead of Steve Johnson and Peter Dixon. Zach Hudson's classified as 18th. So a bit of work to do for that stable, the Phil Laird stable. And Rohit Saini 19th and Ian Statham in 20th. Welcome back, everybody. Back to the Yokohama and Viola Private Wealth Improved Production Nationals for 2025. So we've had 2 races so far on the program. The first of the under 2 litre heats. We've had the first of the over 2 litre heats. We're now on to the second of the over 2 litre heats for today, which is the Group B and C. So again, we've spoken about how the groupings were all worked out with all the qualifying results. So it does mix the order up a little bit. And it just means that when we start getting into some of the other heat races that are coming up, that they will start to face off against each other. And they'll race everybody will have raced everybody else throughout the heat races at least once. And I think they're just picking up a couple of little pieces there and just walking the track. So as we have a look through our grid here, as Luke Gretsch-Cumbos is getting himself all warmed up and ready to go here, it'll be Jared Tonks, who's sort of been the nearest challenger, I think, to Adam Poole over the course of the last sort of 18 months. You know, as we talked about on the Grassroots Racing podcast, how everybody sort of, aspired to catch up to Ray Hislop when he started to win multiple national events. And then with Poole sort of being that next new hair, everybody else is trying to catch up, and Tonks has sort of been the one that's led that charge. Justin Keys from Queensland there in position number 2. Andy Sarandis in a very, very fast Mitsubishi Evo. Was very surprised to see him so far up the qualifying order. He's going to start out of 3rd, with Ben Schutz in the RX-7 starting in 4th. Jamie Augustine in 5th. He had a little bit of an off at turn number 1 in qualifying. Just took turn 1 a little bit too quickly. So he's learned his lesson about how far he can go through, or fast he can go through that corner. Matt Logan starting out as 6th in the Mack Trucks VF Commodore. Damien Milano, multiple state and club champion in here in Victoria. Another one of those drivers that would love to add a nationals to his CV, starting in 7th. And Ian McLennan, he had a little bit of smoke coming out of the back of the number 115 Pro Cup machine during qualifying, so hopefully they've been able to tidy that up.
Yeah, just a rocker cover gasket, I believe there, Steve. Quick and easy fix.
Beautiful. Ben Algie in 9th. George Michelle from South Australia in 10th. Ed Richardson from the Tasmanian in 11th. And Jason Palmer in 12th. Scott Tutton in 13th, with Tom Allen in the RX-7 in 14th. Nigel Williams, who we saw do a lap on the back of one of the other fields, I think just at the discretion of the stewards, just to check a couple of things in his Commodore, starting 15th, ahead of Mick Hazelton in the number 64, starting there in 16th. Andrew Tickner in the Commodore in 17th. Trent Hukamau in the RX-7 starting from 18th. He's from Western Australia. Anthony Dana and Josh Perkins there on the 10th row of the grid. Bruce Henley and Wayne Twist, a couple of stalwarts from Victoria there on row 11. Mark Tutton starting in 23rd there in the beautifully presented Commodore, the Win Percy tribute car there. Chris Bodale in the EA Falcon's going to start 24th. David Haynes and Russ Pilvin. Then Luke Valentich, Anthony Johnson, Mark Erzman, Stephen Gorman, David Perry, and Andrew Butcher is listed as starting at the back of the grid, which is something I was not expecting to see, because he was right up the pointy end of qualifying and set a very, very impressive time. In fact, I think it was into the 1 minute for the low 1 minute 41s. I haven't got the goss on what's going on there.
Wonder if there's been a penalty applied to that, or if it's actually had a technical failure or something.
I'm not sure what's going on there. And the only other person I've just seen exit the lane is, I think it's Adam Williams in the Toronto, who I didn't see on my list here. I know he was a very late arrival.
Unless he's doing like a discretionary practice or lap again just for a technical thing like they did in the last session with Nigel Williams. That's good of the officials to let him do that.
Yeah, if that's the case, he may very well be doing that. I'm actually just having a bit of a look through to see if I can find anything about the qualifying results, just to see if there's anything there, because of course they had to combine all the qualifying results after the two groups were done, and it actually did say that Andrew Butcher was actually the 3rd quickest qualifier. So that's a bit of a question mark as to why he is so far down the order. But that being said, the car's very, very quick. I expect him to make his way through the field. Not, I guess, rapidly, but he will very quickly be picking off a lot of cars, lap after lap. It might take him a bit of going to get through all the 30-odd cars that are ahead of him, or the better part of the 30 cars that are ahead of him. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him very much in the top part of the top 5 before the end of the race.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It'll be one of those sensible climbs, sensible but rapid climbs through. Andrew's a smart driver, and that car's very fast, and it'll look after its tyres well. So it's unfortunate that he's not at the front or the pointy end. I'm not sure what's happened there. We'll find that out and come back to you with that information as soon as we can.
Yeah, we certainly will. That's definitely got my my radar ears question marking things about what's going on there. So we look at Justin Keys here as he brings that beautiful orange-coloured Commodore around the top part of the course. Andy Sarandis, the Autosport Mitsubishi Evo, right behind him. And then Ben Schutz, there he is.
Good to see Ben back. He hasn't done a lot of racing in this category for a while.
No, he certainly hasn't. I think he said he's done probably 6 rounds in the last 6 years or something like that. And every time they get the car out, they've sort of got to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, because it's, as I was talking to him this morning, it's always like, there's a seal that needs to be replaced or a bearing that needs to be replaced because they've sat for so long and they need to be all sorted out. And we talked about this off air quite a little while ago, that, this place is a car breakup. You need to have a car that is 10 out of 10 for every single race, and the driver's got to be the same.
It sure is, and that's a good example that you use with Ben Schutz there, that when the cars sit around for a long time, your seals degrade and other things creep in, and that's a good excuse for why you should get your race car out as soon as possible, Steve. Look at the racing this weekend. Everyone be good to be a part of it.
Yep, certainly is. There's a few drivers I've noticed already on the grid here. They're giving quite a bit of margin away. They're giving a bit of room to make sure that they don't creep over those white lines at the front of the box. I think they may have learnt the lesson there from what happened to Scott Cook in the previous Overs race, where he was done, I reckon, by millimetres for just rolling at the start a little bit too far and probably went over that grid spot.
I reckon, yeah, I wasn't sure if the wheels were still turning for that penalty of Scott Cook, but both these guys in the front row and Andy Sarandis have both all left at least a bonnet length almost at the front. And you go back to Damien Milano and Ian McLennan, they're right on their line. There's no room for them to move.
Here we go. Keep an eye out for Andy Sarandis in this launch off the second row of the grid. He might get them going if he can get it done. And have a look at this, and I was absolutely spot on. That Evo launches fantastically off the second row of the grid, but it's all in vain, because by the time they get to turn 1 and we cut to the shot, there goes your pole sitter in Jared Tonks. He scoots back through. The horsepower advantage shows its hand there, but the Evo launched brilliantly off the line.
That's a good example of strengths and weaknesses of 2 different cars there. How's that for 400 metres? Strength, advantage, lost.
Well, here comes Butcher. He's tucked in here behind Mark Tutton, Bruce Henley and Wayne Twist here, so he's just slowly, as you said, making his way. It's a methodical picking of your way through the field, and he's made a couple of spots already here as Tonks sets sail for turn number 4. Have a look at Damien Milano. Where did he come from? He started all the way back in 7th place, and he's found his way through to 3rd.
So had a blinder out of turn 2 on the run down to turn 3 there. We haven't seen what happened there, but that's a good few positions he's climbed very quickly.
That's a very, very good run. He, of course, had a big swing at the car here at the last state round and went the wrong direction on 1 or 2 occasions, but he's definitely smartened that car up, and he is flying up there in 3rd place. He'd be mightily happy with the start to his race. So we have a look here at Nigel Williams, who's managed to get past Ayrton Richardson here at the start, giving chase to George Michel, and already one of the competitors there, it's the number 50 that's coming into the lane there. That is David Perry from South Australia. So he was off the back of the grid anyway, and has unfortunately pulled that car in at turn number 4. Butcher there plunging down the inside of Tickner at turn number 10. So he's now on the back of the 57 there of John Perkins, who will very quickly see that big, beautiful blue BMW in his mirrors, and he'll give it a wide berth, I would say, as they come around Belinda's Terrace and into turn number 12, and he does give him quite a nice bit of leeway here. Next up for Andrew Butcher is going to be the 64 of Hazelton.
He's made quick work of the back half of the field there. I wasn't sure if he'd get that through that far as quick as he has in one lap, but smart driving from Butch.
There we go. He's actually picked up, I think that was that Tom Allen back there, I think that I saw him go past as well. So the Epilepsy Foundation number 59 BMW is flying along. He's made great progress, and yes, it was Tom Allen there in the number 62, who has just conceded a little bit of ground there as Butcher went past. He conceded ground to Scott Tutton, and Mick Hazelton went through as well.
How's it going to be the Rotary battle? Who's going to be the king of the Rotaries this weekend? This is going to be another little talking point here, Steve. There's, I don't think we've seen this many Rotaries at a State Series event for a long time, so glad they've all brought them out to the Nationals.
It certainly is. Sarandis has been passed by Damien Milano now, so Milano moves up into P number 2, but for him, Tonks is already a good couple of seconds down the road. Look at the margin. It's at least 3 or 4 seconds, but for Milano, important points being scored here. Justin Keys now finds his way through on the Evo of Andy Sarandis and sets out after the big Commodore of Milano. Oh, and Keys has to cover the advances of the number 99 of Sarandis down the hill into MG.
Yeah, it looked like that at the last state round, that car of Damien's looked pretty evil, but it looks like Damien and Steve and the team that work on that car have been spinning the spanners on it because it looks pretty sharp at this point of the weekend.
Yep, looking very, very nice and much, much better than it did at the state round a little over a month and a half ago. Ben Schutz now lining up the back of Andy Sarandis' Evo as they come onto the front chute here. He's going to have a little bit of overlap. Is he going to try and go the long way round at turn number 1? No, he switches to the inside. Is there some space there? Not on this occasion. He has to settle back in behind the number 99. In fact, I believe Ben Schutz might have actually received a black flag in qualifying, I believe breaching the 95 decibel noise limit. So that's a bit of a strange one. He has got a new exhaust on that car from what I've been told, so it might be a little bit louder than it otherwise normally has, but of course it's been a little while since we saw him last too.
It sure has. That's a sore point for myself personally. That 95 decibel limit gets my blood boiling every time, but hey, the rules are the rules. We've got to abide by them. Hopefully they don't get done by for the rest of the weekend as Matt Logan pulls off at pit entry at turn 4. Did
he pull off at pit entry or did he go the long lap?
He's doing the loop.
Yeah, he's gone a little bit deep.
Joker.
Yeah, we were keeping there. He's in the back of shot. We were just keeping an eye on him because he was ranging up onto the back of Schutz and then he disappeared off to the left. So unfortunately for him, he's gone down the long lap penalty box and has had to come back on through the old turn 4 return road. So that's going to drop him several spots in the order. That'll elevate the likes of Jamie Augustine up to 6th. It'll elevate McLennan up to 7th. There is the yellow nugget, the Pro Cut Tree Services Monaro going through the shop, chased by Ben Algie, and George Michel I think might have dropped a spot here as well because he's now fallen back into the clutches of that man who was off the road there in Matt Logan. Oh, that car's looking a little
evil, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks a bit weird at the rear there. It's squirming around on its rear tyres, so maybe something a little bit upset with the brake balance. And there's Adam Williams, the 75.
Where is that off?
That is, I'm trying to work out where that actually is as well. That's a bit of an awkward shot. It's actually a turn 2 from what we understand. So that's a bit strange for him to come off there.
I was just going to add, for anyone who's not aware, at that turn 4 where Matt's had to go and do that big long, like the MotoGP or the Joker lap, whatever you want to call it, they say in driver's briefing there's a dotted line, like a control line there, that if your front wheels go over it, you can't turn back onto the track. They deem that that'd be a dangerous angle for you to rejoin, so you've got to commit to the long lap. So that's why Matt's had to go the long way round rather than drive over the green apron and back onto the circuit.
Yeah, he's gone too far into the territory to be able to go and actually take the shorter Joker lap, so he had to take the longer lap. Here we go.
2 bananas, the 2 yellow cars. One of them had a bit of smoke coming out of the back of it in turn 1 in the last lap, I noticed. I don't know if it was a lock brake or an engine or something, but
that'll be Jamie Augustine. I did have a chat to him after qualifying about that because we did see it from up here in the commentary box. In fact, it was Emma Dean who pointed it out, and he said that, yes, whenever you go down on the shift going into turn 1, it does emit a little bit of a puff of smoke coming out of the rear. We actually thought that it might have been, as you said, a tyre lock-up, and that might have been the reason why he ended up off the road at turn 1 during qualifying on his second attempt when it went down there. So Ian McLennan giving some chasing, but yes, you're absolutely
Andrew
right.
Here comes made a lot of ground on these guys, considering he started off the back.
Check out his times as well. So he's actually been consistently in the 1 minute 43.
43.0.
So 43.0 last time around. So he's been nice and methodical and consistent as he hones in now on the back of the Pro Cut Monaro here of Ian McLennan. Now, this is, as you talked about, the strengths and weaknesses. You mentioned it a lot earlier. The strength of the Monaro, he's got the horsepower in a straight line. The strength of the BMW, he comes onto the straight 20 k's an hour quicker than the car in front. So what does that add up to? It means when we get down to some of these braking zones and the passing zones, which car's got the advantage?
I reckon around here it's going to be the BMW. As much as I'm a Holden V8 guy, pains me to admit it, but I reckon around this track at the moment, that BMW is the package I'd rather be in.
Yep, and here we go. Right around the outside, he's going to threaten McLennan here. The big, heavier Monaro has to use a lot more brake and slow the car up a lot more. Butcher, big, brave move. Nicely done round the outside. McLennan will threaten him. He'll challenge him. He'll have to leave some space here as they run through the very, very fast Stoner corner flat out, but it does give Butch the inside line for the next corner.
Here is Keys and Milano going side by side.
Oh, yeah, Keys sort of just made sure he left enough room and not an inch more on the other side there as he scoots past Milano into second place. And actually, I think might give Ben Schutz half a chance at maybe getting past the big Commodore as well.
He's nipping at their heels. I'd be very interested to see how they both go up over here over Lukey Heights and into MG.
Have a look at that turn from the Keys car. It just pointed and turned beautifully into turn number 8, just on its front nose. You can see the car, the rear end of the car just stepped around nicely and then it squatted in a way that it went. So they've got that number 10 machine tuned up very, very nicely. And here is the 78 of Schutz. So he hasn't been able to find a way past yet, but he's got some really threatening sort of driving here from Andy Sarandis, who has sort of found another gear, I think, in the last little bit. And he's just edging ever so closer to the back of this silver and purple RX-7 through the corners.
This is probably the point in the race where the V8 guys are going to probably just start to be looking after the tyres a bit more, I'd say, by about lap 5, 6, 7. The rear tyres, particularly on these things, are going to start to scream at them. So the lighter cars, the RX-7 and the Evo, probably going to come into their own down here pretty soon.
Yeah, certainly is. I can see Tonks is already slowly starting to button off the his lap time. He's dropped into the mid-43s at the moment, which is similar sort of lap time to what the likes of Andrew Butcher and that are doing at the moment as they're catching up to the field. But again, that's just going to be preserving, as you said, a little bit of that rubber. He doesn't need to do anything fancy at this point because he's got the race lead. But Butcher now closing in on the number 5 of Jamie Augustine and this and Sylvia as they run down into turn number 3. May not be this lap, but or this corner, but it may be not too far away. Unfortunately, cut away from the shot. Unfortunately, cut away from the shot to see what's happening there. And actually, in fact, Butcher did get it done. So very, very brave under brakes there, and another spot up to 6th place. I told you he'd be knocking on the door of getting into the top 5.
I didn't doubt you for 1 second there, Steve. I thought he'd be up there with you.
And it might actually be more than that too, because there's still 2 laps to go and there's 3 cars in front of him. So it could actually be a very, very healthy points return for Butch. This would probably be drive of the day, I would say, as it sits in improved production at the moment. If he can pull this off, this would be a brilliant recovery and would bank some very, very valuable points for the Nationals racing that's got to take place tomorrow when it comes to the final. That's probably the difference between getting into the final on your own merit or having to go through the repocharge.
Yeah, it sure is. I think someone like Butch, been around a while, smart driving, no need to go locking a brake, pinching the tyre, just bank the points all weekend, play the long game. There's nothing to win in the first race.
Keys has got a nice little margin here over Damien Milano. Here comes Butch up on the outside of Andy Sarandis. He'll sweep her right around the outside here. That's another spot. So that's 5th place for Butcher. Now comes the RX-7 of Ben Schutz. Has he got anything in store for Butcher, or is he then going to have to concede to the much faster BMW that's been tearing it up from the back of the field in this one with a lap and 3/4 to go?
So Butcher's fastest lap was a 42.8, the last lap was a 43.6, so you can see he's coming into traffic. If he's still capable of doing the 42s, he's got some pace in hand.
Well, let's have a look at the cars that are in front of him. So Milano actually last time around was into a 46.1, Schutz into a 46 flat. So it's all there. Oh, Milano very wide there. He's run a little bit too deep. Didn't quite get as far deep as Matt Logan. Didn't have to go the return road, but he did have to pull it up pretty hard to avoid going into the grass there. So Schutz finally through. Butcher now through. And now Sarandis is looking around the outside of the Milano as well, but he'll have a little bit of an advantage under acceleration out of Siberia.
How's this? Oh, almost too wide there. Crisscross, left, right. It's so exciting. Hey, Shed, it's such a fast part of the track. Big commitment. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to drop a wheel off because you go a long way when you drop a wheel off the track here and start bolting.
Schutz covers. He covers at turn 10, and Butcher has to bide his time here. against the RX-7 pilot. Ben, no stranger to this place. He's been around here not only in the RX-7, he's spent a lot of time in Richard Bendel's sports cars as well, everything from the Daytona to the Sin R1. So he knows this place. He knows what it takes to succeed here. So he knows where to park that car. And you can see now Sarandis has found a way past Milano, but for how long is the next question, because Milano will fight back down the front straight here with the horsepower advantage. Here goes Butcher to the outside. He gets that done. So 260 clicks an hour in the BMW is enough to scoot past the RX-7 of Ben Schutz. Moves Butcher up into third place. Can he get to Keys?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It's not impossible though. That car at Keys, I'm sure, is starting to hurt her tyres. It didn't look super square out of that corner then. There's a couple of slow spots down here. But yeah, it's having a wiggle. I reckon that car at Keys' rear tyres are starting to scream at him.
I was looking to see if he decided to cover. He decided not to cover, and it's gone against him. Butcher, very easy pickings down the inside here at turn number 4. What a drive. This has been a superb performance. You called it perfectly, Luke. He is a very, very smart driver. He knows where to put the car. He knows when something's worth taking the risk on, and he knows when to pull it back, and he's done that to perfection.
He's a pretty relaxed sort of bloke outside of the car, but I tell you, he pulls the helmet on, and he's a bit of a weapon, Butch.
That's the number 3 of Jason Palmer from South Australia having a moment there at the bottom of the hill at MG Corner. Meanwhile, 12 seconds and change up the road. The number 91, the rod and gun, the Victorian, Jared Tonks. Is he the man that can hold a candle to the man who we think is likely to be top of the pops in over 2 litre in Adam Poole? We will find out tomorrow, because for the moment he grabs another win. So great result for Tonks.
I was watching his lap times then. He built the buffer and then looked after the car. You've got to look after the tyres around here. So smart driving by Jared there.
Certainly is. Andrew Butcher to second place. Driver of the day for me.
That's
from the back of the grid.
Great
That's
job,
a fantastic
Butch.
effort. Justin Keys home in third. Did Schutz get home for fourth? I think he did.
He did, and Damien
just ahead of Andy Sarandis there. Have a look at this. Oh, Mick Hazelton, switchback out of MG Corner. What a great decision that was in the 64 on Nigel Williams. He scoots through in the RX-7. This car, you can always see the little synonymous with the little pink flamingo on the dashboard. It's something that's quite unique about this car, and I think it brings a smile to everyone's face. But he's managed to just grab Williams when he was napping there a little bit. Can he hold him off to the start-finish line? It'll be close.
I think Williams just got him.
I don't want to call that. That was very, very close. I think Nigel might have just got him by a bumper bar there coming out of the last corner, but that was very, very close.
He did, by the look of it. That's one of those times where you want the transponder to be as far forward in the front bumper bar as you can. I've heard about Formula V guys scalloping the front of the nose cone out just to get it that few millimetres further forward. That's one of those examples.
That certainly is. Bruce Henley here with Mark Ersman in the Subaru WRX right behind him as they come around the top of the corner. Great to have Bruce here. There's some stories about Bruce at last night's dinner function and how things came to be with the Yokohama contract and all. Chris Bodale just ahead of them. He crossed the line in the EA Falcon, and Bruce across the line there. That's I think just outside the top 20 for Bruce, so good result for him. What a frantic race that was, especially in the middle part of the top 10. So Tonks unseen out in front for most of it. So he gets another 55 points in the bank. Good job for him. Great recovery from Butcher ahead of Justin Keys. Ben Schutz holds on to fourth place there ahead of Damien Milano. Andy Sarandis just coming up a 10th short against Damien, so that's a great drive from him. He really drove the wheels off that Evo ahead of Augustine McLennan. Ben Alge sight unseen, and Matt Logan, despite having to take the long lap penalty, he managed to get back to 10th.
He did. That's a good drive from Matt.
George Michel from South Australia there in 11th, and Scott Tutton wins that little family battle in and that's another one of the Evos there, the car 144 there in 12th. So good result. To put maybe another set of tyres on the rear of that just to maybe settle it down and get some balance going, because it is a bit of a tight turnaround. They may have had a chance to do that. Mark DeFarnis starting there in 6th place. Andy Sarandis in the Evo starting in 7th, and Jamie Augustine. So the good mates in DeFarnis and Augustine are going to have to back up for this one too. John Caligari from West Australia, he's had a chance to sit down and he's going to start out of 9th from Ashley Isarasina in 10th in the RX-7. Ben Alge in the number 77 starting 11th. Rick Hogan in his Commodore will be out at 12th. Lee Forrest from Tasmania in 13th, and Scott Tutton in another one of the four-wheel drive Evos, a little bit of a later generation model compared to Andy Sarandis, who'll start 14th. Nigel Williams in 15th, and Scott McLean in 16th, who we saw having a bit of a late battle there at the end of his heat race. In fact, he was actually partially off the road at one stage. Ed Richardson from Tasmania alongside Steve Johnston from the Northern Territory. And 19th and 20th will be Andrew Tickner and Peter Dixon. And while we wait for the rest of the grid to get themselves sorted, we're going to have a little bit of a throwdown to Callum in pit lane. He's standing in the Yokohama and Traction Tyres garage in the improved production land. Callum?
Back down here in the paddock here at Island Magic, the 35th edition of this time-honoured event. Great to have Joel Ramsey down from Newcastle, of all places, to come down here and join us this weekend. And obviously you are Australia's favourite tyre guy with the Pit Lane Cartel, but it's a salient topic. We're right out front of the Yokohama garage, but it's a massive logistical effort this weekend to service 97 improved production cars.
It is an absolute nightmare if you don't like logistics. So already they've brought quite a few hundred tyres down. They've already done this morning. This is Saturday afternoon. They've already done 120 tyre changes. And there's only going to be more. So we've got still a little bit further this afternoon and Sunday. So they're absolute legends at Traction Tyres. Andrew and Shane, the crew, do an awesome job to keep all of the improved production guys sorted with their tyres. And it's great.
Actually, we might just have a quick wander down if you come with me, Joel. We haven't got too much time between races, but you don't normally see the tyre operation being set up here in the middle of the garage. So obviously they do have the truck. They've got the truck that's servicing all the competitors, but they've actually bumped in an extra setup here to be able to service everyone a bit more efficiently.
Yeah, it's just a little bit easier to get done here inside the garage. They've also got a setup inside the back of the truck there onto your right-hand side. So you can actually do it, set yourself up basically anywhere, good to go, without actually logistically pulling out heavy tyre machines and all that sort of stuff. So really, really easy setup. You can go to any track, anywhere, do it. There you go, change your tyres, done.
So you are Australia's favourite tyre guy. You're looking at the amount of tyres here, AO48s, but obviously we should acknowledge that AO50. Sorry, I'm thinking about Formula Fords. Slightly larger tyre size, but we have to acknowledge Yokohama and what they've done for IPRA nationally for such a long time.
Mate, they've done such an incredible job to support the series and the categories, and they, I think more importantly, produce such a quality race tyre. That will serve really well, especially for grassroots racing there, for people looking for budgets. The tyres are budget friendly and do last and have performance. So you can't say a bad word about Yokohama, what they've done, mate. Great job. And they're producing tyres that are 15s, 17s and 18s here for all the different categories. So not only is just not one tyre, there is a range of sizes of tyres that they have to produce and bring here. So great job to Traction Tyres. Well done, Yokohama. Great job.
Well, good, Joel. You're past your job interview here right now, so we'll have you out later on this weekend as part of the broadcast, live and free on Blendline TV. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you love all of the action coming your way live and free this afternoon.
All right, so we've got some on-track action here. I think there was a couple of drivers that were a little bit of just struggling a little bit to back up from that previous heat race, and I did see a message come across my my smartwatch that said there's a few drivers that were missing from the grid, and to hurry them up if they had seen them anywhere. So there might have been a few nervous toilet breaks and a few people just spending a bit too much time just drying themselves off before they get back into these very hot race cars again. So we're on the formation lap now. And I think we spoke about everybody up until about 20th place then, up until we had those crosses to Callum and to Jola in the pit lane. So from 21st on down, when we have a look at them there, you've still got Anthony Dahana in the BMW starting out 21st alongside Rob Baird in the RX-7. And you've got Mark Tutton in the Commodore from New South Wales with Andrew Barstow's little VW Golf in 24th. Mark Kempster from South Australia in the Magna in 25th. Bruce Henley's RX-8 in 26th. Andrew McMaster starting out of 27th alongside Mark Ersman, so the two New South Welshmen there on the 18th row, the 19th row of the grid. And Rob Neal and David Haynes will be starting out of 29th and 30th. And the last four cars on the grid, Luke Valentich, Anthony Martin, Stuart Dearden and David Perry. Now we did see Anthony Martin in the previous heat race. He was actually off the road on the left-hand side. I think he was actually in that same heat that Adam Poole went on to win. So he pulled over very, very early in the piece, and we did have an extra formation lap so they could pull that car to safety. So hopefully they'll be able to get that beautifully prepared and presented VH Commodore out and running again. In actual fact, it's had quite an extensive front-end rebuild since the round at Sandown in August at the state round when it had a bit of a collision with the wall at turn 4. So they've had a bit of time to get that repaired. Now I think we've seen, we're just keeping an eye on things here as everybody comes around to the grid. I think Luke, you've pointed out, I think it might be David Perry, who we didn't see, we saw didn't last too long in the previous heat race, and it looks like he's not going to start this one either.
No, that's unfortunate. There's a few gremlins. I just happened to catch up with Stuart Dearden on the way past, back up to commentary before. They have electrical gremlins with that car, so a few reliability issues starting to creep in here. So hopefully get a good run here and not too many DNFs.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the reliability side of things is definitely starting to creep in with a lot of these cars. Some drivers are pushing these cars well and truly to the limit here in the early going, rather than trying to ease their way into the weekend. And there's a few tales of woe already starting to emerge from not only over 2 litre land, but under 2 litre land, which we'll talk about when we get to the under 2 litre race, which comes up right after this one.
And a little note, just as everyone's starting to find their competitive edge, I noticed the guys in the front row are just up a little further than all they were in the last heat, so no one's wanting to give away anymore, but there's still some room there. I'm surprised the boys haven't got the front wheels right on the line yet.
Certainly. I agree with you there. Green flag at the back. So let's get ready for another 7 laps here, or 8 laps in fact I should say, and we are away. Bit of a sluggish start from Poole that time. It's a much better launch for Aaron Lawrence off the front row, but the horsepower race will be advantaging. Oh, in fact, Adam Poole, maybe he missed a gear or something because he drops back in,
swallowed.
Not only behind Milano, but behind Lehman and behind Lawrence. So bit of a sluggish start there for the TRP Duckwork Monaro. So not the kind of start we've been accustomed to seeing where he sets sail for turn 1 and goes. He's going to have to fight through a few people here.
He sure is. That's unlike Adam to lose some spots into turn 1. Here we go.
Lehman.
Beautiful looking Vodafone tribute livery. Down into turn 4. Who's going to be the bravest under the brakes? I've got a suspicion Cade's going to come off the second best there. Big heavy VE Commodore.
Yep, you're absolutely right. So Lawrence holds the ascendancy down the inside on the run down through and exiting out of turn number 4. So good little start for him in the Nissan Silvia, and it looks like I think Butcher may have, he's rounded up Milano after a bit of a tardy start for himself on the second row of the grid. So he gets back up into position number 4. Poole's cleared Milano as well as they head up the back. Left-handers, right-handers, then another left-hander up and over the top of Lukey Heights. This blind crested corner that seems to go on forever, and you've got to stay to the inside there. And it's finally when you get to the top of the hill, you have a chance to spot your braking marker. Yep, Poole having a bit of a go here at Lehman. Gets that done. Job done for him. Up to P number 2. Now he can set sail for the back of Lawrence, who's got a nice little margin. He might be safe for at least this lap coming across the line, but Big Monaro will probably start to reel him in over the course of the next lap, depending on what tyres are under that number 2.
Andrew Butcher tried to have a big run out the back of Cade Lehman, then onto the front straight. Couldn't quite pull it off.
Let's have a look when we get to turn number 1. That'll be the interesting thing. No, he rolls out of it and gives a little bit of real estate. So, again, playing the long game, Butcher here. Milano had to go back past Andy Sarandis in the Autosport number 99 there at the run across the start-finish line. Scott McLean's had a very nice start as well. So he started, I'm looking up here, he started 16th, and he's somehow running inside the, from what I could see there, he was running very, very nicely.
Wait for our timing screen to roll over here.
Yeah, we're waiting for
17th. It's showing on the timing screen.
No, well, according to what's on the timing screen, I reckon that's inaccurate because he's actually right up there. I think behind Andy Sarandis as they come through the thing here, unless that's the wrong car I'm looking at, because it's very similar sort of looking livery to Mark Defanis actually. No, it actually is in fact Mark Defanis. Thank you for actually double checking on that for me.
Both black and gold.
Both black and gold, a bit hard to spot.
Yeah, I think one of the rotaries might be in a bit of trouble for a jump start there as well. I could see he was well out of position when the green flag went.
Confirmed.
Right, it is
on
there
your screen.
I was a bit worried that was going to come up.
Yep, Ashley Isaracina has been given a 5-second time penalty for the jump start. Oh, this is a little bit tight for Butcher. He gets sort of to the rear bumper of Lawrence, but the gap at turn number 10 narrowed up very, very quickly. Oh, little bit of a
Squirmy.
jump sideways, bit squirmy on the accelerator there for Lawrence. He might be vulnerable to Butcher down the front chute.
It's always that left-hander at 11 there is always the awkward corner on this track. If you tune the car up to be good there, it's sort of a bit of a nugget everywhere else. But if it's good in the high speed, that's the corner the car generally doesn't work at. So
Yep, Isaracini, you're right. He absolutely jumped the start 100%. He was the man, the orange car in the 5th row there, who was actually jumped the start so far. He was almost up the chuff for Augustine at the start.
yeah, it looked like Augustine had a bit of a bobble there. I wonder if he's had to have a second bite at the clutch, because it looked like that initial launch it sort of went and then it stopped. So not sure what's gone on there, but everyone got away cleanly. That's the important bit.
That's exactly right. No damaged race cars out of that. Butcher now through on Lawrence into P2. We saw that on the screen just a few moments ago. We're now looking back in the pack here. I think we saw just Luke Valentich and a bunch of others go across the line. Here's the man you were talking to, the Stuart Dearden in the Tribute Falcon there, harking back to the Glenn Seaton, Peter Jackson days in supercars, and he's put his own little bit of a taste on that livery there. Rob Neal here leads Andrew Barstow, and they are trying to give chase to one of the about 3 or 4 red Commodores that are here this week, and I'm thinking if that might be possibly might be Nigel Williams back there in the machine as they run through the turn here. No, actually it's David Haynes, sorry. David Haynes is the one they're giving chase to.
Interesting group of cars here. We've got a big heavy 6-litre Commodore, a BMW's at a 135, is it?
Yeah.
Volkswagen Golf and a Subaru. It's good strengths and weaknesses of every different car here. So this is probably, a lot of these cars look like they're a bit more in the sort of production spec, if you will. You know, typically expect to see the 6 litres up the front, but I'm not sure where the development is in that car, but it's still nice to see because of VZ Clubby there.
Yep, up and over Lukey Heights here. As you can see, Volkswagen Golf is having a go here. Oh, that is the number 11 there. That's Andrew McMaster. Now, he actually changed cars before coming into the weekend because his other car wasn't ready, and there's some damage there. Front right tyre maybe has let go, and maybe it's actually impacted the side skirt there, so he's just trying to stay off the line. He was a bit of a straggler off the back there. He's safely now in at turn number 4 before the leader Adam Poole gets to him, so he was about 10 seconds away from being lapped. There's the evidence of that on the outside of turn 2.
Typically the front right is the tyre that works the hardest around here. If you're going to have a failure, it is usually the front right. Not sure where the geometry in that car is. You can hurt them pretty quickly if you're running aggressive camber in them or too much caster. You can really hurt them, as Jamie Augustine has a big brake lunge down here. Good move. Yeah,
nicely done on Ben Alge in the number 77. So a couple of different generations of Sylvia exchanging places there. Slightly older model and a slightly newer model.
Looked like it had a lot of, was that brake dust? Looked like it was something coming out of the front rim almost.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a couple of puffs of smoke there, I think, on the Augustine machine, just pushing it a bit hard into turn number 6 there at Siberia. I was actually talking to him quite a little while ago.
He had contact with something.
That. Yeah,
the front left on that car's looking a bit sad.
Yeah, he definitely has made a little bit of contact there. In fact, I think it actually might be rubbing on the guard.
It looks like, giving it an imaginary wheel alignment there. It looked like the wheels are pointing in different directions there.
Yeah, that's the headlight, part of the front headlight. I think maybe the indicator side might have been impacted there, but it definitely looks like the guard is pushed back onto the front left-hand tyre there, so that'll be rubbing quite profusely through some of these corners. Let's get a bit more of a look at it on the angle here.
See the steering wheel on.
He's actually got some race tape on there as well, so I think there must have been some contact in the previous race that he was in, and maybe they've tried to patch that car up, and maybe it's come slightly ajar. So maybe the contact's not from this race, but it might be from the previous race that they've tried to patch it up and get going.
Doesn't seem to be bothering him too much. He should pass the pit entry there, so hopefully it makes it around for another couple of laps, and hopefully that tyre's not in too much peril.
He's going to be rounded up here.
Straight.
He's going to be rounded up here by Mark Tutton. So through goes Tutton in the Commodore, and Anthony Darnell's a little bit too far behind. Have a look at Lee Forrest here. He's being harassed here by Nigel Williams in the VX. And, well, we talk about strengths and weaknesses, Luke.
We could.
Well,
we sure could.
We sure could. And when we come to strengths and weaknesses, as Mark Tefanis goes
looks like
on.
The front tyre's deflated on that too. I know it looks like he's going around for another joke lap, but it actually looks like the tyre's deflated.
Yep, I would say that is the case. Yep, and there it's gone. And it's completely gone now. So he'll have to find a safe spot to pull it over and limp it back into pit lane. It was funny because in qualifying yesterday, he came into the pits when I was down there. He thought the left rear had gone, and it just felt a bit strange. Well, that, as you said, is the working tyre on this particular circuit.
We want to talk about
David Haynes, where's he
left
gone
the
off?
foot into it.
He left his foot in it. Is that down turn 3 or turn 2? That's down near turn 2 because I can see the TF 2.6. So that's exit of Southern Loop. There's the failure. Oh, that was a big lock-up too for Mark.
I wonder if he's actually flat-spotted that one through the canvas. The AO50s are normally pretty forgiving. If you have a lock-up and they're unweighted, they normally tolerate it pretty well. But in a straight line, you can rip it pretty easy.
Yeah, I was about to say that they have been a very, very durable tyre for a long period of time. It takes quite a lot of torturing to be able to, really make them pop. So for Mark, maybe it's one of those tyres that's sort of been in the bank for a little while, and of course they're all dragging all their tyres out to try and make sure they use them up before the end of the year. Maybe it's just had a little bit too much go into it. As Rob Neal just wandered a little bit wide there at the top of Lukey Heights, and Mark Erzman was having a look around the outside to try and make that move work.
Here we go.
So what happened here to David Haynes? He's just gone straight on.
It's odd that he's pulled it off. I wonder if that's got a front right tyre gone as well that we just haven't been able to see. Just interesting,
It's almost like it gave up at a particular point, wasn't it? All right, so Damien Milano, what's he up to?
On a comeback here by the look of it. He had a bit of a gap between these guys. It's Rick Hogan's off as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's just run a little bit wide of his own accord there. We can't see the right-hand side of that car, so we don't know what's gone on. Back to Milano and Lawrence though. Milano comes out with the high ground right around the outside at turn number 9. Lukey Heights up and over the top. He'll have to cover this, and he does down the inside. That'll make him a little bit slower at the bottom of the hill. Is there room for a switchback, or has he covered that avenue too?
He's covered it. He's gone shallow there. You track sacrifice out of that corner down the bottom there to get your bigger open run through 11. And good driving by Damien. He's done a lot of laps around here. He'll know where all the little tricks are, where all the places you can put the car.
They come onto the front chute. There's Cade Lehman running in third place. He's about 3 seconds or so in front of Milano. And unfortunately, I think that's
out the back of Hay Shed.
Yeah, it is. And that is the Mark Tutton Commodore that has come unglued somewhere around the back of the circuit. Yeah, you pointed it out. It's somewhere around turn 7 or 8 because we can actually, from our commentary position, we can actually see all the dust being kicked up there as well.
There was smoke and dust I could see lifting there, so I'm not sure if he's had a spin and gone into the gravel or a lock-up. Hopefully, if that's all it is, hopefully it hasn't. And there's someone else slowing around MG as well.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on
who it is.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on a couple of things here. We've got one eye on our screen, one eye on what's going on outside, just in case we end up getting a shot as to what's going on. But then when we look here at this battle, it's still raging on. So here's what happened up the back. Oh, no, that's it's hard to tell if that's actually something that's caused that spin, but it's actually ripped a skirt off there as well, or something from the underside of the cars sitting there lodged in the gravel trap.
Thankfully, it hasn't made the fence there.
No. So let's have a look here as Milano heads Lawrence now up the back. They're giving chase to Lehman, so they've gone past the inside there. You can see all the big tyre marks that have gone on as the Tutton Commodore's gone off into the gravel trap. And then we come up around the top here at Lukey Heights, and this is where we were keeping an eye on things. We weren't sure if there was a car that was just a little bit slow here a lap or so ago, but it may very well be clear of here now. It looks pretty clear to me. And Andy Sarandis, he's sort of come from the clouds here a little bit. He's actually managed to catch up to the back. Now, I'm being told that looks like we've actually, sight unseen, the checkered flag is it being shown? No, they're actually holding it in. We're waiting to see what's happening there. We thought, because we're looking at our timing screen, it changed a little bit. Yeah, it had changed to show that it had actually been done. And in fact, a little bit of news for you. We've actually, because there's been so much action, and look at this, there's all this tyre debris on the front straight. It's all over the place, and they've had to take some evasive action there. Milano's now wandered wide. Sarandis is going to go through as Milano's slowing with a little bit of an issue.
I wonder if that's got an issue because he has given away 2 positions in one corner there.
Well, in between all of this, I think we're going to cut to our race leader probably fairly soon, because we are officially on the last lap, and he's got quite a nice margin out in front again of Andrew Butcher. But Sarandis is now going to try and throw the kitchen sink at Aaron Lawrence here. This would be for position number 4. If he can get this done down the inside at MG corner, he makes it happen and gets through. But it's not over and done with yet. He needs to protect this through 5 and into 6, and he does just that.
I wonder if Damien just outbraked himself at 1 or something and made a mistake in that previous outing down to turn 1 because it looks like it's back on the pace again.
Well, what can we say about the superlatives of this man? Win in the first heat race. He's cruising to another heat win here. And on top of that, he has broken his own lap record on this journey. With all the action that's been going on up and down the field, we haven't been able to point out until now that he's lowered the mark by a couple of hundredths of a second. Adam Poole will take his second heat win of the weekend, and he can put his feet up tonight and have a cold one and be pretty pleased with his Saturday's work.
He sure can, and he's got an 11.5 second lead to Butcher there, which Butcher's no slouch around here, as we've seen in the previous race. So good job by Kate Lehman here to come back up into finish the race in 3rd place.
Yep, Lehman home in 3rd place there. Aaron Lawrence, he just come up a bit short against Damien Milano.
Just pinched his lunch there.
Pinch his lunch or pinch his lunch money?
Lunch money, I think
lunch
it is.
Money, I think it is, more than lunch. He probably would have actually go and have earn some lunch now, I think. It's been a long day for some of these drivers. There's the RX-7 of Ashley Isaracina, who has that 5-second penalty over his head. So he finished in 8th, so a 5-second penalty is going to drop him down to 10th. That'll elevate Algie and Scott Tutton up to 8th and 9th, respectively, when all that gets factored in.
Wow, there was a lot going on in that race, Steve. I had to have your head on the swivel. You're looking at the screen, you're looking out the windows. There's a lot going on. I think be interesting to see what the condition of some of their tyres are after that race.
I think it'll be very, very interesting to see. So Adam Poole in the end, 9.5 seconds to Andrew Butcher. So Poole knew he had that margin in hand. He knows how to pilot the car around here and what the margin is that you need to make it happen. So he's home in first ahead of Butcher. Good drive from Kate Lehman into 3rd place. Andy Sarandis getting the better of Aaron Lawrence and Damien Milano there into 4th late on in the race. So he's keeping his head in the game in case there's any inclement weather on the horizon. Jamie Augustine in 7th, Ashley Isaracina in 8th place, and as we said, he'll fall down there to 10th with the 5-second penalty that's got to be tacked on to him. And that'll elevate Ben Algie and Scott Tutton up the order. Nigel Williams there in 11th, ahead of Lee Forrest and Ayrton Richardson, so the 2 Tasmanians. Not separated by very much there, only just on a second between the 2 of them. Peter Dixon's new gearbox seems to be going pretty well there, and he finished there in 14th as they all come back to the lane. We're now starting to get into over 2 litre land. This is the sole representative over here from the Northern Territory in Steve Johnston. And next door to him, he's got a couple of South Australians there. We might see if we can grab Steve. He's in here in the denim jacket and coat. Good on you, Steve. Good to see you again. Everything's going well, I take it, since you were here at Phillip Island a month and a half ago?
Yeah, we've had a few gremlins that we're trying to sort out. So on Friday, the car wasn't on performance. And what we found on Saturday morning after qualify, the rotor contactor, the screw had come loose. So therefore was flopping around in the distributor. So we've now put a new distributor cap on it. And we were picking up a little bit of pace yesterday after finding the loose screw. So that's been altered, and now we're just sorting out any other little gremlins.
Well, importantly, when you were here in October and you were shaking this car down in preparation for the Nationals, you were a little bit disappointed with the fact you didn't get down to the lap time that you were ultimately achieving. You were oh so close to breaking in, I think, to the 1 minute 49s in qualifying. Have you actually got the lap time that you wanted to get this weekend so far, or are you still looking for it?
I'm still looking for it. Yes, it's coming to me. Now we've found a performance in the car. Our race pace yesterday I was pretty happy with, and enjoying the battles with the Vic Litre guys. So some great racing going on. I really enjoyed myself.
And this car originally started its life in Victoria too. It's just taken a long journey north to Northern Territory to find your hands.
A long journey via road and a long journey via in the mechanic shop. So 4 months on the rotisserie and changing everything on the car.
Isn't that like every race guy? They all just change everything on the car the minute they get it?
Absolutely. If you can, why not? Make it modified to your suit and your performance value. So.
And you're the sole representative from the Northern Territory, and I think, like we were just talking to Tim Maynard, he's like the only representative from the under 2 litres in New South Wales left standing. You're the only person here from the Northern Territory across all of the classes, so there's a bit of pride on the line here. You want to get to the finish line, you want to finish that last race on Sunday afternoon. Yeah,
absolutely. That's key. Paramount, get out there in the final and represent and get as high in the field as we can.
Well, great to have you down here, Steve, and all the very best for the rest of the weekend.
All right, thank you very much. And just a shout out to my wife who just survived the cyclone Fina last night in Darwin. So Yeah, thanks Evie for holding the fort.
Well, we did see actually there was on the bit of bad weather up north there, so good to see that everybody survived that. We keep walking through pit lane here, and a few drivers are just starting to leave the lane to go down to the marshalling area. We might stick our head in the door here and see a couple of South Australians. I think no, they're about to go out. So two of the stalwarts. One stalwart, I think, here from South Australia there, Ian Statham, who's about to go out, and Mark Kempster. A couple of unique cars there with the Mitsubishi Magnas. You can see next door to them you've got Scott Cook in the Nissan Silvia and George Michelle in there as well. They're actually going out in the next session too, so it won't be too much longer till we get the next over 2 litre race for the Improved Production Nationals. A couple of very quick cars in there, so looking forward to see how they go. We've actually now brought behind here, we're having a look at the Scott McLean Commodore who's here. He's got the Superior Installation Equipment team running right here. We might see if we can sneak in here and have a little bit of a chat with Scott. Scott, a little bit of an interesting day yesterday. You had a couple of heat races there. You did have a little bit of contact with Mark Tutton in that second race, which put him in the gravel trap when he had the stuck throttle. How's the repairs come up this morning?
Well, good news. The guys did an amazing job. I want a big shout out to Luke Valenti. He came over. He's a panel beater by trade. Thank God for that. They were so kind. He came in his race suit and everything. Came and got the slide hammer out. Straightened it. I reckon it was better than when I first had the car. So I couldn't be any more thankful. And Peter McLean and certainly Andrew from Superior Installation Equipment came over and helped as well. So it's got us back. So we think we're good. We had to do a bit of adjustment with the wheel as well, but I think we're in. We're in with the show. Okay,
that's good, because it looked like you had a little bit of tyre rubbing going on post that contact yesterday, so there wasn't any more significant mechanical damage underneath?
No, we had Andrew from Yokohama Traction Tyres actually come over and check, and he's actually happy the tyres. We put them on the rear. So I'm just so grateful the tyre held in, because there was a bit of smoke, as you saw. So, yep, they're going on the back. We should be good to go. Nothing more mechanical than that. And we hear Mark's done okay as well. I think he's going to get back out as well, so I couldn't be happier with that.
All right, fantastic. You've got a great crew working on the car here, so good to get you back out. And what are your thoughts on this? I know the rear-wheel drive cars and the big V8s don't really like the wet weather too much.
Well, one of the things, I actually love the wet. I'm not as high-powered as some of the cars out there, so I'm actually in the show here with the wet weather and got some good tyres. So I'm actually looking forward to it, and I've done really some big laps in heavy rain here on this type of service. So I'm actually looking forward to see how that plays out for us. So I'm actually optimistic, excited, because I think a few others are going to absolutely get a bit nervous out there. So I'll be just trying to find the right lines, nothing crazy. I think there's a good high line. Shh, don't tell anyone. I'm going to have a bit of a look at. So let's hopefully that helps us give us in a mix to get in the final if we can.
Yeah, well, they call that the go-karting line. So you've just spilt the secret there. So we'll see how you go in the wet weather then. All the very best. And not too far now until your next race.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And thanks very much, Iprovic, for putting on the show today, and everyone here at Doing the Nationals. Steve doing a great job too.
Thanks very much, buddy. All right, we might see if we can wander back this way and see if we can find a few other people, because they've all starting to leave and head over to the marshalling area for the next IPRA over 2 litre race. What are you finding, Em? You've been running up and down the pit lane. What have your thoughts?
Well, I've actually been bumping into some of the guys from 944s and having a bit of chat about their race being cut short yesterday. So just catching up on the goss. But I think we're going to go over to Garage 16 right now for one of your IPRA guys to have another chat to.
Yeah, I think so. We're actually going to go into the garage here. We've got one of the Mitsubishis that are sitting here. I think Callum's waving frantically at me here. We take around and have a look here. We were just talking about these 2 unique cars. This is the Mark Kempster Mitsubishi Magna. There's also the other one of Ian Statham, who's actually just gone out to form up for the marshalling area for the next race. These cars are just 2 unique cars. You just don't see these sorts of cars in any other category these days. Across any sort of motorsport. So it's great to see the complete variety that we get in these sorts of in improved production. We're just going to quickly wander through here. I think Callum's waiting for us on the other side, along with a couple of other bodies here who've we've been managed to round up. No, we're waiting on a few different things here. Have a look at that. Just look at the way down the end of pit lane there. Still the mist that you can see. There's still a little bit of this misty rain still in the area. Perhaps we might be about to get another little bit of a shower. We're not quite sure what's about to happen here. But what we will do is we will take a very short break here, and we'll be back on the other side of this.
It's a bit of a central location for them to hang out, pick up some merchandise. We did come in here yesterday and have a quick chat and look at a few of the trophies here, but we'll get a good shot In there, actually, we're looking at the Yokohama Motorsport banner, which has been signed by all of the competitors here this weekend. And there you can see, look at all those trophies. That's exactly what they are gunning for here this weekend. And don't they look absolutely sensational? Does anyone want to have a chat? This is live TV. Tell us all about yourself and what you're doing here this weekend.
My name's Peter McKay. My husband's Gary McKay with the red XU1 that most people are pretty familiar with. Sadly, he didn't get to make the race this weekend because he blew his motor up last round. And despite his best efforts, we didn't get there, but we were always going to be here. We've been in IPRA for many years. And so I've been looking after all the hospo side of things of the event and the merch and keeping all our drivers happy and all of that stuff. So, yep.
Not to put you on a spot, how many shirts have you sold this weekend?
How many shirts? Well, I can tell you I've only got about 10 left. So 260 shirts. We had 250 people at our function on Friday night, which was wonderful out at Golf Club, at the Phillip Island Golf Club. And we've got some bucket hats and kids' t-shirts and everybody's having a great time.
How many months planning has it been to get to this point right now?
Well, we probably started initial conversations 2 years ago in the lead up to this to lock in that, yes, we were definitely going to do it at Phillip Island and at Island Magic. And for the last year, we started off monthly meetings, fortnightly, weekly, daily, minutes with all of the texts and group chats and whatever. So yeah, it's been a mammoth effort, but we've got an amazing committee that have really all just put in loads of hours, loads of work to make sure that the event's going to run beautifully. So yeah, all good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful work here this weekend, and we thoroughly appreciate it.
It's been amazing. Husband runs in under 2 litre, and he's on the committee, but when the husband's on the committee, you end up being the helper.
IP WAG. We're the IP WAGs.
The most important people here this weekend. Thank you so much.
Everybody happy.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. We'll keep this one going, Emma. Yeah.
Race for improved production cars are making their way out on track now. We're very, very lucky to be joined right throughout this weekend to an absolute champion of this category. Should be out there on track and probably next to, in front or behind of these couple of cars rolling down now. A big welcome to Luke Gretsch-Gumbo. Back to you, Steve.
Thanks very much, Darren. As Luke gets his headset on here, we can see that Jared Tonks is leading out the field of over 2 litre improved production cars for heat groups B and D to have their race. Luke, very, very different conditions today compared to what you and I called yesterday. Let's talk a little bit about what has to happen in conditions like this, because the real thing that I know happens is the tyre pressures, because you want to open up that tread phase to try and clear the correct amount of water, but there's probably a lot that goes on behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, there really is, Steve. G'day, everyone. Welcome back to Phillip Island. Yes, so the big trick with the wet here is reading the tyre pressure. There's the obvious things you need to think about, like cambers. If it's a full wet race, you can stand the wheels up. You want to soften the front rear anti-roll bars up. The tyre pressure, though, is probably the magic here, because if you can pressure the tyre up to the right amount, you can actually get a little bit of a crown out of these Yokohamas, which helps push the water away. But it's a very fine line between having it pressured up high enough that it creates that crown, but if it starts drying out, you can blow the temperature off them really quickly. So I'm surprised these guys aren't working them a bit harder on the outlap, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, because this is the conditions are not, it's not saturated. The circuit itself is not, it's damp, but it's not got a constant flow of rain coming down at the moment. So as you're talking about, it's that fine balancing act that you've got to find. You've got to get that tyre pressure right, because if it starts to dry or a dry line starts to form, you've got to go searching for the wet, don't you, to maintain the temperature in the tyres. So as you said, you don't overheat them and you don't overstress them.
You really do. And it's, as a driver, you get pretty good at it. You get a feel for your car, and you hear drivers and supercars and all the top level things talk about how the car almost becomes an extension of your hands and your feet. You really sort of get to feel it, and the Yokohama tyres really do talk to you in these conditions if they are starting to go over. It's you're watching Jared here just trying to warm those rear tyres up. It looks pretty slick out there, but trying to keep them warm without blowing the temperature off them is going to be a challenge for these guys if the track starts to dry.
Yeah, certainly will be. It looks a bit like pea soup out there, doesn't it? Look at all the fog that's sort of rolled in, not just from the Bass Strait side, but it's also rolled in from the other end of the circuit as well, all the way down to turn 11 and 12. So the visibility is just good enough at the moment, so they'll be able to see where they're going. Of course, there's been a lot of safety innovations here at Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit over the last couple of years, particularly for MotoGP, things like all the new catch fencing, but on top of that, also for the LED panels. So around the circuit to complement the flag marshals and the flag marshalling team, which are doing a fantastic job this weekend. They have got the LED panels there to identify when things go on safety car or when there's yellow flags in the area. They've also got a really big, nice board just under this bridge. You can probably might be able to just see it off to the far right of your shot there. Just there's the lights, and then there's the new LED panel board off to their right. So that's used to display things like checkered flag at the start-finish line. It's used to display people that have got black flagged and a car number and those sorts of things there as well. So some great innovations that they've put in over the last couple of years will help in conditions like this.
Yeah, it sure will. And it doesn't look like the spray is going to be too bad. There's not too much standing water out there. So I think hopefully the visibility will be good. All the teams should be on the radios telling everyone that they need to have their rain lights on.
Just noticed as well, you can just probably see it on your left-hand side of your shot there. Ben Schutz has just overshot the mark by about a quarter of a car length or a third of a car length. The marshal's just going to push him back into position, so that's a great job for them. There actually is a new rule that's come in recently around if you're allowed to reverse on the start grid, provided you haven't gone more than a car length over your box. Otherwise, you've got to stay put where you are. So they're marshalling those last of the cars into position. So front row there, Jared Tonks from Victoria and Justin Keys in the orange Holden Commodore there on the right of your shot. Then behind them you've got Ben Schutz and Scott Cook. Behind them, Jason Clements and John Caligari from Western Australia, Ian McLennan in the Monaro, Bruce Cook from Queensland, and Matt Logan and George Michel are on the fifth row of the grid. That's your top 10, as the last few cars, I think, are just about in position, Luke.
Green flag at the back. Adrian Taranto is going to be the one to watch here off the start line in the all-wheel drive Audi. Let's see how the guys on the front row get, because there's plenty of horsepower and not a lot of grip out there on that front row.
A venture into the unknown compared to Saturday's proceedings. Let's see how everyone gets away, and it's a very clean start actually, and you're absolutely right. Look at Adrian Taranto. He's in the middle of your shot there. He's managed to get a very, very nice launch from further down the field. He's gained about 6 spots or so already. Oh, there's a car off to the left-hand side there with a wheel that's come apart. Is that Scott Willing? Scott Willing with a left rear that's off the Subaru WRX, and he is going to take to the far side there. It's sort of just hanging on by a bolt by the look of it, and I'm wondering if that's maybe they've missed a nut or something's failed there, or is a hub failure or something on the 41. That's a little bit of something you don't see every day.
That's an odd one that it stayed on there.
It's an absolute wonder that it stayed on. He's probably going to try and limp that around so they stay green flag. If he can manage to do it, that'd be a great bit of driving for him. There's Ian McLennan being rounded up, or attempted to be rounded up, by the number 64 there, Mick Hazelton from New South Wales in the RX-7. And check out Zach Hudson. Hasn't he had a brilliant launch? He started well down the back. He was down in 17th place, and I think he's now well and truly inside the top 10. We did see that car ailing a little bit yesterday, and it looks like they've smartened it up, and he's launching his way toward the front.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to go and chat with that crew, but it's looked like looked like it was doing an engine or had some kind of issue. Oh, we got a BMW around here.
Stephen Gorman, who's gone around there at turn 4, and I'm surprised that Scott Willing hasn't actually come into pit lane there. I'm not sure if maybe he doesn't realise what's going on there with that left rear on the Subaru. If he goes around again, they will definitely give him the black flag to tell him that he needs to come in. That must be hanging on by the bare minimum on the rear axle.
Almost looks like it's caught between the wheel tub and the rear guard or something there, because I'm surprised it hasn't come adrift. Hopefully it stays there and doesn't go bouncing out into the fence.
John Perkins with a good start there as well. He's moved up a couple of spots and is now challenging on the outside of Cook going down to MG corner. And Ian McLennan has got to leave a little bit of room there for the Mack Trucks entry of Matt Logan, who's going to try and go the long way around. Graham McPherson from Bendigo tucked in here as well. That car had a little bit of an overheating drama yesterday afternoon after the photo shoot, and it's good to see that they've got that up and running. Much better conditions for Graham today, a lot cooler, so nothing to worry about there from the heat stakes.
Yeah, doesn't look like that car over here, McLennan's is all that settled. Looks like they're a bit worried about it. There's a car off on the driver's right up there.
Yeah, that's one of the RX-7s, I think.
That's the...
Is that the Mick Hazelton car? I think it is. It's a bit wide. As we go down towards turn number 1, it is huge, wide, action here, and down the inside goes the number 20, that's Ian Statham, so he gets a couple of spots there. He had a fantastic run off the final corner, and he's grabbed not only Ian McLennan, but he's also grabbed Graham McPherson at the same time. Have a look here too, you've got the 49 here of Glenn Kennedy. That car's been super unreliable over the last couple of campaigns when it's come out, but this has levelled the field for that E30.
It sure has. He was stuck down the order a bit yesterday. Looks like that thing's working pretty well in the wet. We'll have to see how it survives, but the wet conditions do definitely equalise it out. There's definitely no more horsepower advantages around here. This is probably the tricky braking zone in this track in the wet. This is the big stop for the lap, so good to see that there's been no issues there, especially on the first lap, because it looked like it was pretty tight there at the start. Good to see everyone's gotten through pretty cleanly, and nothing's damaged.
Certainly is. Talk about the braking markers in here, because in the wet conditions, what's the right opportunity that you need to brake? You've got to think about where to pull it back, don't you? It differs in the different conditions.
It sure does, and it's hard to gauge because you obviously need to bring the braking markers back because it's wetter, there's less grip, but you're also not travelling as fast into the spot, so it's actually quite a bit harder to judge that.
Oh, that looks like it might be John Perkins, who's come a cropper out of Siberia, I think, there on the driver's left. That is the green roof of the Perkins machine. There's a little bit of smoke coming out there, so wondering if it's just a bit of a harmless spin. That will facilitate the safety car, unfortunately, so in a bit of a precarious position there. So now that everything's out, there should be no more passing here. There is a little bit of overlap going on as the safety car has been called for, so the cars that are behind will have to give way here. In Ian McLennan's case, there's no opportunity to go around the outside there. He will see the boards off to his right-hand side there on the catch fencing, and he pulls back into line behind the number 23 of Rohit Saini. And then, of course, they're behind the number 20 there of Ian Statham as they come onto the front chute.
This corner here, this is actually, I would say, the high-risk corner on the track, especially in the wet. That painted apron on the exit there, the Ripple Strippers, we've got a replay of the John Perkins incident.
Yeah, he's just lost it on his own there.
He's just turned it around.
And he made pretty decent contact with the fence, so that's why he hasn't gone going again. That is a padded fence there with the tyre bundle, and Scott Willing's still going around out there. I'm genuinely surprised that he has not come in there. I'm sure that race control is looking at that one very, very carefully, but he's still managing to pull that Subaru WRX around, and safety car now getting control of the field. Jared Tonks was out to a 6-second advantage out in front, which is genuinely surprising for me. He's actually driven very, very nicely and just very, very smartly, and managed to get a nice margin over the 255 there of Jason Clements. And Ben Schutz had sort of managed to maintain his third spot on the grid. Justin Keys is the one who went backwards from the front row of the grid. He went back to 4th place from 2nd. And then Zach Hudson, look at him, one of the hard chargers in this one, having moved all the way from 17th up to P5. You remember yesterday I was talking about the battles that we were looking forward to over the course of the weekend. We're looking forward to seeing how Ben Schutz and Zach Hudson would go head-to-head. We might just be about to get that in the next couple of laps if we go back to green flag.
I think we might. It's looking like they're going to be the two rotaries having the head-to-head battle here. It's going to be interesting to see because we don't see a lot of the rotaries. I mentioned this yesterday. There's not a lot of the rotaries come out before the Nationals. They always seem to pop out here, and it's going to be good. Both of those guys are experienced guys. They've both got fast race cars. So here's Scott Willing. I cannot believe that wheel has hung in there. That is unbelievable.
Well, officially it has now been seen by race control. They have they're holding out the black and yellow. We call it the meatball flag affectionately, but he will be shown that across the start-finish line this time around. So he has been given the mechanical black flag, so he will be obliged to come into pit lane this time around. It's a bit hard to see, I think, Luke. You look at the mirror on the side of that car there, and where you're positioned in the car with the safety harness and the seats and the wings opposite your either side of your helmet to try and keep it all in place, and the harness device, it can be a bit difficult to see the left-hand side mirror out of that car. But not only that, you wouldn't be able to see below the door line of the car to actually know what's going on behind. All he'll know is something's wrong and something's dragging, but the car's still going forward.
Yeah, I was just looking at that last shot. It almost looks like, I don't know if it's the design of the mirror on the Subaru or not, but it almost looked like the mirror was pointing up. No, maybe it's just how it is.
The type of mirrors he's actually put on that car, I think.
Maybe it's a bit hard to see the back of it. I'm sure it'd feel horrendous, but it is wet. You've been the benefit of the doubt here. I'm sure that car does feel a bit odd, left to right in the wet, so But I'm not sure how that wheel's wedged in there, but it's dragged around for a fair few kilometres here, Steve. It hasn't gone bouncing anywhere.
No, certainly hasn't, and he'll definitely see it this time around. So that will mean he will be obliged to come into the lane. I'll tell you what, he's definitely going to need a new set of at least one new Yokohama AO50 after this one, because that thing is going to be down to the canvas. Let's have a look at the start here as we head towards turn number 1. I'm wondering if we can see the actual failure happen here. Yeah, it just pops out. All of a sudden, it looked like as he came over the little crest in the front straight, all of a sudden it just boom, and out it came.
Yeah, I wonder if it's broken a hub or if it's surely, their experienced team. I doubt it would have been loose, but yeah, we've seen a few hub failures and things over the years, so anything's possible.
It certainly is. We were talking about Adrian Taranto. We're just looking to see how far he managed to get in conditions like this. We were expecting him to launch up the order pretty comprehensively. He did get a really good start from the back of the field, and as we wait for the timing to let us know where indeed he has moved up to, I would say he's probably in the just outside the top 10 if he's been able to keep going. In that shot, he definitely was looking pretty handy. We're being told that it is a checkered flag this time around, because they do need a bit of extra time, probably to repair the wall and to recover the John Perkins RX-7. So that will be deemed another heat race win for Jared Tonks. So like Adam Poole yesterday, who won both of his heat races, he's going to now have notched 2 heat race wins. For him, he's had to do one of them in the wet.
He sure has, and I was watching that car on the first few laps of green coming out of the final corner, and he's driving it nice and straight, not too leery, nothing too stupid, just nice and square, and he's got the eyes on. I was having a chat to him before we came up here to commentary before, and he looks like he's in. It looks like he's in the zone.
He certainly is. So Tonks across the line ahead of Jason Clements, Ben Schutz, Justin Keys and Zach Hudson. Scott Cook wasn't looking forward to the weather this morning, but he's managed to hold on to 6th place, so that's a solid haul of points for him. John Caligari lost a couple of spots there and moved back to 7th. George Michel in 8th. Then you've got the 17 there of Chris Thomas was 9th, and Matt Logan managed to hang on to the 10th spot in the standings, so that moves him on to 68 points. In fact, it actually moves him on to a tie with Chris Thomas there in terms of the number of points that they've been able to attain so far for the weekend. Clements, Schutz and Keys, they're actually all sitting on 94 each, so when it comes to working out the points at the end of the 3 lots of heat races, it'll be determined based on finishing positions, who's finished in the higher position, and down accordingly. If there are ties, that will settle what the final grid orders are going to be.
It sure will. It's what do we got? Another couple of heat races, a Repocharge and a final today. Up next, we have got the V's up next, and we've got an under 2 litre race in improved production. The next over 2 litre is the Groups A and B heat race.
Yeah, so that'll be the Adam Poole 3rd race for him. That comes up at just after 11:30 local time, and then the under 2 litre heat race comes up at 11:15 local time. So there's your confirmation of your top 10 from that, very, very interesting race. It only really went for 4 laps at the end of the day. It was scheduled for a 7-lap duration, but the accident for John Perkins just facilitating a little bit of extra work down there at the turn 6 exit on the driver's left. So Tonks, Clements and Schutz top 3, and Justin Keys and Zach Hudson in the 5. Cook, Caligari, Michelle, Thomas and Matt Logan there rounding out the top 10.
Hopefully they don't need a wall repair up there, and hopefully that car up there isn't too bad. It looked like it had a reasonably big hit and it spun around awkwardly, so fingers crossed there's not too much damage for that team.
Certainly. Well, we'll take a short break here in the commentary position as the grid just ticks over there, and we can see, looking to see where the little Audi S3 managed to get up to. Doesn't look like he actually managed to get inside the top 20 there for Adrian Taranto. He probably didn't have enough time to really exercise the power of the little Audi S3. So we'll be back on the other side of this. Back to Steve DeVries and Luke Gretschkumbo getting ready for the next Improved Production Nationals heat race. So this is Groups A and B. And for the 2 men that are on the front row here that are just leaving the lane there, Adam Poole and Jared Tonks, they have both had 2 heat races so far. Tonks has actually already run this morning along with a number of drivers in this heat. Adam Poole's had his feet up since yesterday afternoon with 2 wins, but between the 2 of them, Luke, someone's going to be on pole position probably for the over 2 litre final this afternoon, but they're both even on the points.
Yeah, it's likely there's a good chance one of these two gentlemen's going to be on the front row for the final, but the both front rows, or the front 2 rows, are actually got a few heavy hitters with Cade Lehman and Justin Keys off the second row there. Obviously, Ben Schutz and Aaron Lawrence is there as well. They've been quick all weekend as well.
Yeah, they have. They've actually definitely been pushing the envelope, and you can even put in a couple of other drivers that are sort of hard charging through the field there as well. So, you've got the likes of Lee Forrest a bit further down the order, who's been just keeps pressing on, and a few drivers are going to start to fight back from a little bit of adversity, such as Scott McLean, who's down there in 20th as we take a look at our grid. So you've been through that top 6 there, so some heavy hitters in the top 4. Ben Schutz and Aaron Lawrence, they've definitely been there or thereabouts so far this weekend. So just trucking along nicely, picking up some good points, making sure they're towards the pointy end of the grid, so they have to they don't need to go into the Repocharge a bit later on this afternoon. Ashley Isaracina in the RX7's also been going pretty nicely there in 7th place, and George Michelle in the 200SX out of South Australia there in 8th. Over the page we go. Matt Logan was out this morning, so too was Ian McLennan. Now, he did have a little bit of some oil dramas yesterday, but it looks like that car's been smartened up. Lee Forrest, we just mentioned, right in the shot there. There he goes, the veteran, the stalwart of improved production, along with Tom Allen in the RX7. And the next group there, Peter Dixon and Mark DeFarnis, and Steve Johnston from the Northern Territory, and Rick Hogan there in the VS Commodore in 16th.
Rick Hogan pulled off to the side of the road at turn 2 yesterday. I had a chat with that crew. They had a right front tyre let go, I think, on that, so he parked it off nice and safe.
That was in that same group of cars that we talked about overnight, where a number of tyre failures happened in that latter race because they had to back up so quickly.
Yeah, there's a bit of talk in the paddock about whether the fact that they were out on track, then they had basically a 20-minute gap, and then they'd come back in, refuel, set tyre pressures again, and then go out for the next race. There's a few people wondering if the fact that they possibly bled too much pressure out of the tyres and didn't leave enough pressure in them to support the sidewalls on the opening few laps. That's sort of the theory that they've got, why there was so many failures in that last race yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. Such a short space of time to back up, and of course you come in from that race and the tyres are hot, so the first thing you got to do is you normally let the car just settle down, but it was such a tight turnaround that the checklist of items is there. Okay, what's our starting pressures, what are we going to do? And as you said, some people just they did bleed them back to what they would think the starting pressures would likely be, but because the tyres themselves are still too hot, of course the temperature was then lost, and they actually probably dropped below what the pressure would have ideally should have been to start that race.
Yeah, correct. And you normally hurt the tyre on the first or second lap around here. If the pressure's too low on the outlap, you can sort of squish the inside shoulder of the tyre. You can cause a failure there, and then later on in the race they normally let go.
Cars rolling down the start-finish chute here to the grid spots. So 2023 champion on the left-hand side of your pictures there. Was looking pretty handy yesterday. Not only did he take both race wins, but he did lower the lap record by 0.06 of a second. So he continues to evolve that lap time and march closer to a sub 1 minute 39 lap, which would be absolutely incredible if he could pull that off. He, of course, won the 2023 championship, but he was in prime position for the 24 championship in Darwin until a late DNF in that final, which then handed the title to Matt Cherry last year, who sadly hasn't been able to back up and defend that title this year at the 35th running of Island Magic.
Yeah, you're dead right, Steve. I believe the car did a crank angle sensor of all things. You've had the best package on the grid, and then that little sensor just let you down, unfortunately.
Yeah, the little 1%ers that go a long way, and they'll go a long way with and behave themselves for so long, but it's all those little 1% things that you don't really think you need to worry about checking until they actually let go. Here we go, green flag at the back. This is the second last heat race for over 2 litres with these two groups, A and B. 2 men off the front row, get a pretty even start. And I think just edging clear at the time there was Jared Tonks. A bit further back in the field, there's already some Great starts that have been executed there, but Tonks leads the way into turn number 1. Had maybe just a slightly better looking grid position there as they launched off the front row of the grid, and he heads them down through 1 and into 2 as they the challengers on here with Mark DeFarnis right on the back of Ian McLennan in the Pro Cup Monaro.
Yeah, you're right, Steve. There, I was just watching. I think Adam had a tiny bit too much wheel spin in the first phase of the launch. It looked like he gathered it up, but by then Jared had done a good one. Jared starts normally pretty good. It's normally pretty hard to beat in turn 1, and that car's got plenty of horsepower, so it's going to be fun to see who can get down the front straight quickest on the next lap.
He's got about a half a dozen car lengths on him at the moment as the conditions are still pretty tricky around several parts of the circuit here. Aaron Lawrence getting a little bit close for comfort there with the number 43 of Matt Logan. Maybe just a very, very minor little bit of contact there. And now he's got to give way because here comes George Michel in the 200 SX and he's having a look at Siberia.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was a little bit of contact there, but it was very close. Good drive from Matt Logan out of that corner to put the power down as Mark DeFarnis is trying to go side by side here.
Yep, sides up the inside of the 61 of Michelle at Tayshed, and now they swing left. They begin the climb up and over the Lukey Heights, the tallest part of the circuit, and then it drops away from you, this blind crest, and into a very, very heavy braking zone as the 29 of Isaracina gets very, very close to the rear of Shoots in the braking zone at MG.
Yeah, just looking at the straight out the window and then watching the footage there, I think it's actually a bit drier than we think it is, Steve. It looks like be interesting to see what the lap times are, but I think the track's a bit drier than we all thought it was actually going to be for this race.
Yeah, there's definitely a dry line and a few dry patches starting to form, especially down the middle of the circuit. You might get a good shot here. You can see just those dark patches and then the little spots of light patches right down the middle of the road. So it's starting to clear. We did have a little brief extra shower come through a bit earlier in one of the earlier races, but it has not really made a big impact on the condition of the circuit. So there are definitely some parts offline that are still a little bit wet, but for the majority of it, it is drying very, very slowly, but it will take a little bit of time for it to become a full dry line. Standing lap times for Thompson for Poole, 52s and 53s, and now Poole, with a little bit of the extra horsepower in a straight line, has caught back up to the rear of the Rod and Gun number 91.
And that approach into turn 4 there is actually one of the places it looks like it's probably the wettest spot on the track offline, so you're going to have to go into that treacherous little bit of the road there to actually pull off a pass. But Adam's a smart driver. He's not going to go throwing a Hail Mary on the second lap here.
The big white hair is the one that they've all been chasing. We can see there's a little bit of water still on the apex at turn number 8. Jared Tonks is the one that's probably been the closest challenger to him over the last 12 to 18 months. He's the one that's really sort of tried to up his game to see if he can catch the number 2 Monaro whenever he's made an appearance here in Victoria. So Jared's going to have his work cut out for him here, but again, he knows it's a safe game that he needs to play. He'll know that on points that they're level coming into this heat, so it's not going to be it's not going to be a problem for him if he has to play second fiddle to Adam, because you've just got to get through this heat race. Then you can worry about setting yourself up for the final later on this afternoon. It'd be lovely for him to start on the pole and then be able to say, you know what, I was the quickest out of all of the over 2 litre cars, but he won't be disappointed if he's starting second on the front row to Adam.
No, I don't think he will. I had a chat with him this morning. They're still developing the engine in that car. They'd like a little bit more mid-range out of that, he was telling me, but it's certainly not sure about it straight.
There you go, Rob Neal, I think they're right around the outside. Sorry, Rob Neal, that's the number 11 there, sorry. Right around the outside, that's Andrew McMaster. Right around the outside at turn number 11 and 12, getting that pass done on Wayne Twist in the little BMW. And then right behind Twisty is the Volkswagen Golf of Andrew Barstow, who's potentially looking at lining up a pass down here, coming down into turn number 1. This big long queue here is headed by Rob Baird in the blue and yellow zebra print 777 number RX7 as they go into turn number 1. Steve Johnson's tucked in here as well. Big different variety of cars, big different in variety of all the states as well. There's Russ Pilvin going around the outside of Mark Kempster or trying to go around the outside of Mark Kempster, I should say, in the Mitsubishi Magna.
There's a snapshot of improved production, isn't there? You've got a Magna, a VN Commodore, you've got BMWs, Datsuns, the whole works. such a... we were going to talk about this, the strengths and weaknesses of the car yesterday, and then we cut away to a tyre failure. But, here we go. Here's some strengths and weaknesses. Pooley's trying to go around the outside at 11. That's the hard way to do it, but it looks like he's going to pull it off here.
Yeah, I reckon he got down the inside at MG corner, and they're going to run toe-to-toe, side-by-side through Belinda's Terrace and right around the outside at turn number 12, the highest tyre stress load on the circuit, and Poole goes the long way round, and he will now lead them down the chute, heading towards turn number 1. It is not done with yet, and Tonks now finally concedes. He realises that he was going to run out of real estate going into the braking zone, and he pulls back in the number 2, but he put up one hell of a fight there and made sure that Adam Poole earned every inch and every millimetre of that pass.
Adam Poole will be loving that. He's had to get his elbows out and have a good hard race there, because I know he often can jump out the lead and run away from it, so I'm sure he's relishing this battle to have someone who can give some good, close, hard racing, who you can also trust. You can trust being on the inside or the outside of Jared. He's got good situational awareness, and he's a really good guy to race with.
So Poole already has pulled about a half a dozen car lengths from that last shot before we cut back to this group, as Barstow now trying to get underneath Twist instead of going around the outside. He's trying to get underneath him at turn number 12. He just got his nose in front here. This is actually bringing the EA Falcon and Chris Pedal into proceedings as well. So with all the lap times being a little bit slower than what they have been in ultimate pace from Saturday's running, it is giving a bit of a free kick here to some of those cars that are typically toward the back of the field. It's still a relatively level playing field, but as we said a bit earlier, it is slowly starting to dry.
Yeah, just having a look at their lap times, last laps and best laps, they're sort of 2.5, 3 seconds off the pace of what they would be in a full dry track. So it is heating up. Just looking out the window down the front straight here, it's definitely getting a lot more dry patches on the circuit.
Here's Peter Dixon, another one of the Monaros. The number 21 machine is just holding off the advances of the stalwart in Lee Forest here, the Toyota Celica with the rising sun on the roof. Beautifully presented car, something that, again, we talked about different makes and different varieties, so synonymous with improved production. And great to see that Lee's been able to make the trip with all his fellow Tasmanians across the ditch from Tasmania for this one. I think there's 4 or 5 of them lined up for a photo shoot on Friday afternoon after practice. As we focus here on Ian McLennan around the top part of the circuit, being really chased hard by George Michel in the number 61 machine. He'll lose out in the horsepower stakes down the front row here, but like we saw with the videos that we've been seeing across the weekend for Andrew Butcher, it's in the corners where this little number 61 will start to make its advances. Yep, the margin closes up right here, and now he takes the high line, looking to go around the outside, but there's really no space there, and Macca protects the inside line and will force Michelle to just tuck back underneath here and wait for another opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know where the tyre pressures are on that car. It looks like maybe it's having a bit of a rub with the tyre on a guard there. I know they run a fair old offset on that car, so I wouldn't be surprised if Ginger Tyre having a rub. I wouldn't be too stressed at this point, but that car of Michelle is definitely going to look after its tyres better, and I'd say with 3 laps to go, it's possibly a sitting duck there.
Yeah, you're right. I think it was just under load in that long loaded exit of Southern Loop that there was a little bit of a tyre rub there just on the guard. And Michelle, I think, has probably seen that and realises that, if the opportunity's there, he needs to be really, really close coming onto the front straight, pretty much right in the under the rear boot lid of McLennan's Monaro to have really any shot at getting down through turn number 1. He's actually just lost out a bit up the back here as well, which sort of surprises me a little bit, because this margin is a little bit of a wiggle there, I think, as well, as he turned in for the approach to go over the hill at Lukey Heights.
Yeah, that's the area of the track I expected him to excel there, as we've got the VF Commodore Brigade here of Matt Logan and Mark DeFarnis coming around onto the front straights.
Battle for 6th and 7th.
See how this car looks like it's behaving. Squat pretty good, not too ugly there. It looks like the tyres are hanging in all right.
Just ahead of these two as well, as I can see Aaron Lawrence is closing in on the back of Mark DeFarnis. Just ahead of these two, you can see Ben Schutz has started to gain some ground over Justin Keys here as well I'm wondering whether or not Keys is just having a little bit of some tyre management trouble, because you can see he's dropped into the late 47s and Shoots is into the mid 46s. So he's starting to gain some ground on the Queenslander as they exit Southern Loop. And Matt Logan turned his fastest lap last time around as well, so he's responding to the challenge that Defanis is trying to throw down.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's made a mistake there or if he is in tyre conservation land. That car's been quick all weekend. It looks like it's having a bit of a squirm under brakes, so there's evidence to suggest that the rear tyres on that car are starting to scream at him.
Well, Cade Lehman actually just went a little bit deep at turn number 4 and had to use the MotoGP long lap penalty area just to recover to the circuit there, so thankfully didn't have to go the long direction and would have come back on behind these two on the screen.
Paul's just set the fast lap of the race at a 42.8, so the track is definitely looks like it's not quite in its prime, but it's almost back to where it was the end of the day yesterday.
Yeah, it's getting into workable territory now. It's getting into favourable territory. There's still a little bit of water on the outside there at turn number 11 and 12, as you can see there. The Pool comes onto the front straight and he will greet the checkered flag first, and another win for him. So 3 wins from the 3 heat races contested. I think Tonks went into preservation mode the minute that he was passed by Pool, and he's come home a comfortable second, so that'll likely be your front row for this afternoon's final.
Jumped Keys here as well at some point in this lap here.
He certainly has. He's managed to get him, I would say, probably down around the back or maybe up at MG. He's got that done. Lehman survives for 3rd. Shoots elevates himself to 4th. Here's the pass, and I was right. It's at MG.
Yeah.
Very nicely done.
It's a big heavy Commodore to stop down there, and I'm sure that RX-7 of Shoots is probably a good 300 or 400 kilos lighter. It's physics wins down at the bottom of that hill, Steve.
Yeah, certainly does. Here's this battle we were talking about. So Steve Johnston has managed to continue to hold off the advances of Barstow and Bodale, and Twist has actually gone to the back of this group, actually behind Tony Martin, and Tony Martin having to work hard with Andrew Tickner, who actually managed to lend him some spare parts that they were looking for in that car overnight to get them back out and running again. So great job and great camaraderie in the paddock.
I believe they broke an axle in that car yesterday.
Great.
So good camaraderie, as you say, Steve. For everyone wants to see everyone out, and if you've got a spare part, we generally are a fairly friendly bunch of people and try and get everyone, all our mates, back out in the circuit.
Steve Johnston, will he be able to outlast the advances of this EA Falcon, who is he's come on strong in this race? The conditions have sort of suited him a little bit, and I think Steve is just going to get the chocolates here. Barstow might have a late lunge at Chris Bodale's Falcon. He just comes up about a half a car length short in that one, and that was right down the bottom part of the back end of the top 20 there in that race. So there's the confirmation of your second last over 2 litre heat race for the weekend. Pool ahead of Tonks, so they can put their feet up for a little bit, these drivers. Cade Lehman and Ben Shoots. Justin Keys being passed late there by Shoots for 4th, so he settles for 5th. Matt Logan and Mark Defanis 6th and 7th. Aaron Lawrence, after a pretty decent start, comes home in 8th, and McLennan in 9th, with Ashley Saracena in 10th place there. George Michel couldn't quite find a way past the Manar at the end of the day, so he had to settle for 11th, ahead of Rick Hogan and Peter Dixon, with Lee Forrest in 14th and Tom Allen in 15th, and then McLean, Trent Hookamau from Western Australia, Jason Palmer, Mark Kempster and Robert Baird, who's the car just rolling into the lane there.
That was a good race, Steve. That's again,
was.
Probably a little bit of a preview to what the final's going to look like, providing none of these guys have any reliability issues.
Yeah, that's right. So that probably will set at least the front row of the grid for the over 2 litre final later this afternoon at 4 o'clock. So under 2 litre is pretty much settled. All 3 heat races have been run at once, so that's now set and officially a grid for them. We have this last race to go here for the over 2 litre heat races. So this is Group C and D. That will then give us the balance of where everybody sits in the pecking order, first to last in the over 2 litre category, and then from there we'll be able to split them into the ones that are automatically through to the final and those that are going to have to go through Repocharge if they want to make their way onto the back of the over 2 litre final grid this afternoon.
I tell you what, it sounds a whole lot simpler than what we were talking about this time yesterday, doesn't it? This has been an absolute fantastic improved production nationals, one for the ages, and the circuit does provide a lot of that. The event is immense at Island Magic, 35 years. Steve, and I'll hand over to Luke Richcumbo for this one as well. We're in the closing stages. This is it for these cars. They've got to do or die to get themselves into the main race this afternoon for over 2 litres. Over to you guys.
Certainly do. So they're on the formation lap here. So this is the third heat for all these cars here this weekend. So the front row of the grid here, Andrew Butcher starting on pole alongside Jason Clements from New South Wales. Then comes Andy Sarandis in the four-wheel drive Evo, number 99, the Autosport backed machine, alongside his fellow South Australian in Scott Cook, who went out earlier, or actually both of them went out earlier in the day in the wet conditions. Damien Milano, who's had his feet up for a little bit, he will be looking to charge through here. There he is in shot from position number 5 ahead of Jamie Augustine. And John Caligari from West Australia, and Ben Algie there in the number 77 Nissan Silvia from New South Wales, starting out of 8th place. Top 10 rounded out by Chris Thomas in the Little Holden Tirana, and then Scott Tutton in the 144, the other one, the Mitsubishi Evos, in there in 10th. Zach Hudson starts 11th ahead of Nigel Williams, Graham McPherson and Ayrton Richardson from Tasmania, and Bruce Cook and Andrew Tigner in 15th and 16th. The veteran Ian Statham next door to Rohit Saini, one of the fairly newcomers to improve production. So someone that's got so many races under their belts, and another driver that's sort of in their first or second year of IP alongside him. Glenn Kennedy and Anthony Dana. Scott Willing, we're not sure what's going on with the number 41 there. We believe that that tyre that came off that car or became detached is possibly loop on. We believe it's an axle failure of some nature.
It's either broken a hub or an axle. I sort of tried to get down there and have a quick look at it, but I couldn't sort of see the crew were working on it, but definitely something in the bearing assembly or the hub.
So he's possibly a scratching for this one. Stephen Campbell will be in 22nd ahead of David Hulk and Bruce Henry, and another one of the veterans in the RX-8. The rest of the field rounded out by Mark Erzman, Mark Tutton, Luke Valentich, Graham Shea. We believe Adrian Taranto has done a fuel pump and will possibly miss this one. David Haynes, who was a victim of all the tyre issues that were going on in yesterday afternoon's race, is starting toward the back, also along with David Perry and Greg Faggoter from South Australia. They'll be off the back row of the grid.
Going to be hard to get past putting your money on Andrew Butcher and the Epilepsy Foundation BMW here for the race win here. That car has looked strong and fast all weekend. You've got the Evo there. That's I bet he was wishing that track was a little wetter than it currently is at the moment.
Yeah, it's still a little bit damp in some patches, and I can tell you now, when you look at the grid boxes as they're about to pull up in them, a lot of them are a lot drier compared to what we saw when we had the other over 2 litre heat about 2 races ago. They're definitely pulling up to some much drier grid positions. So Andy will still launch pretty nicely from that third spot on the grid, but he will have a bit of a hard task to make that Evo as wide as possible on the run down to turn 1 if he can make that launch go very, very well for him.
It's going to be interesting to see how a few of the guys get off the grid here. I'm looking like Andrew Butcher on pole. The right side of that car is in the greasy side. The left side's completely dry. Clements in the other BMW's got a completely dry whole shot, and then after about 15 metres it starts looking like it's going to get pretty wet. So anything could happen off the start here, Steve.
Yep, certainly could. Just looking a bit further back, there's a couple of drivers that are just being told to move a bit further forward here and get into position, and there's a few vacant spots there as well. I think everybody is in position. Indeed they are.
Green flag at the back, ready for a start.
Last heat race of the Improved Production Nationals for 2025 before we get into finals time. And away we go. And as we predicted, Andy Sarandis launches the Evo at about 3,500 revs and shoots to the front of the queue. The question is going to be for how much longer behind him. The BMW battle is settled with Andrew Butcher going through on the inside there. There was a little bit of contact further back. I think Clements possibly holding on the outside. The contact back in the field was where?
The RX-7 and the other Evo here, I think, had a bit of a rub here. It's 144.
Scott Tutton potentially against Zach Hudson.
Yeah, it looked like they had a bit of a rub, so hopefully there's no damage there.
Good start as well there by Nigel Williams. He's looks like he's picked up 1 or 2 spots from the start. As we focus in here on the Queenslander in Zach Hudson, the 2022 national champion in over 2 litre, harassing the back of the Jamie Augustine Nissan Silvia. And Andrew Butcher, didn't take him long to find a way back past the Andy Sarandis mobile here, but Sarandis fights back. He's not going down without throwing 1 or 2 punches here, without throwing 1 or 2 haymakers. He got a really nice launch out of turn 4, and at least for the moment, he's holding off the advances from Butcher, but for how long?
Yeah, the exit of turn 4 looked a little damp, and it looked like Butch got swamped by the all-wheel drive car there. Butch did a good job into 4 to stop it there, because he had to go on the damp side of the road. I'd say down the front straight next time it's going to be pretty much mirror to mirror.
Covered by Sarandis, and 3 wide on the approach to MG corner. They slot all nicely back into a line. Clements now looking for a little bit of a high run there, and we can see down in the pit lane there's plenty of drivers and their support crews that are watching on from this one across the Blendline TV, whether it be on laptops or TV screens or tuning in on mobile phones. They're giving all their attention screen there. Oh yeah, there was a little bit of a question mark there. There was a little bit of a love tap on the rear of Butcher's BMW from Clements. Scott Cook is starting to find his way under the rear wing of his fellow South Australian as well, so he's in this fight as well. One Victorian taking on 3 South Australians at the front here. I'll tell you what, this is not State of Origin.
Oh, you think it was? I reckon Butch must have had a little slow exit out of MG then, because he was right under the wing of the Auto Sport Evo on the way in, and then when they came out of the other side, it looked like they were looked like they had a thing. Got a tyre gone at turn 1 here. There's debris all over the front of the circuit.
Yeah, someone's had something. We just saw it in the back of the shot, I think, that something's let go on the front straight. There is a little bit of debris out there, so drivers will have to be aware of that when they run down the front chute the next time around, as we see the field go there. Oh, it's Ian Statham. What a shame. It's a left front.
It's interesting. Oh, no,
is it?
Right, drives right-hand front.
It's either left front or right front. The left front looked a little bit down, but when he turned there at the right hand to get out of harm's way, I think it just had a little bit of a lock-up as it was going through the grass. So looks like a front tyre failure for the Mitsubishi Magna, the number 20, the veteran out of South Australia. Unfortunately taking no further part in this one, but they're going to have to be very, very careful as they run down towards turn 1 on the next time around. Sarandis has got a little bit more in hand this time here. He's just got a little bit of margin. Oh, Clements with a big lock up in the rears. He's pinched the rears, goes around at MG corner. Through goes Cook, Milano, Caligari. They're all going through there. He'll have to go the wrong way. He'll have to flick spin this probably to the left, I think. There goes Chris Thomas going to the opposite side, and Clements gets that pointing the right direction, but that's been very, very costly for the 255 BMW pilot.
Playing for keeps down there. Butch, they were both down the inside of the damp side of the road there, covering off each other. I'm surprised Andy Sarandis has kept the BMW guys really honest here as we're watching down there going to turn 1. There's a fair bit of debris down there. I'm be interesting to see if they call a safety car or a debris flag at least down there, because there's a bit of stuff on the road.
There's double wave yellows down there as well on the approach, so there is no passing down into turn number 1, although there's I think a few drivers may or may not have failed to heed that warning. Oh, that was close. That was cutting down right in front of Zach Hudson. There was Scott Cook in the 126. There might have been a very, very minor bit of contact. That was very, very tight exiting Southern Loop. You are absolutely right, Luke. They are playing for keeps in certain parts of the circuit at the moment. And Milano's thrown a few haymakers here, and he's managed to get the big Commodore in front of Scott Cook. He's trying to give chase to the BMW of Butcher and the Evo of Sarandis, leaving this little battle, which is we're starting to lick our lips over here, because they're trying to go with the big heavy Commodore.
Yeah, Damien had it all crossed up there under brakes, and only just managed to keep that on the road there. It must be pretty damp down there. So I'm surprised, Butch hasn't got up to the front yet, but he's back under the wing of Andy Sarandis there.
Check out how much of the road Hudson was using on the exit of turn 8. He was taking it right out to the ripple strip, maximising every bit of this Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Butcher, has he finally found a way past her? Is Sarandis going to fight back? No, the 99 Evo Sport machine gets great drive traction out of the slow MG corner and goes back to the lead. This is the big strengths and weaknesses battles that we've been wanting to see all weekend long, and the Evo is holding off the advances so far of the Epilepsy Foundation supported BMW as they roar onto the front straight once more. Butcher taking the car up to 6th gear, close to 260 clicks an hour. More debris goes flying. He gets down the inside at turn number 1. Is that the decisive pass? The yellow flags were still out there, I think, so there may be a bit of a question mark over the legalities of that, but we will let the stewards sort that one out, because there's debris still all the way down that front straight. But for now, Butcher is through.
I reckon he made it before it would be tight to what would be an imaginary control line for that yellow flag there, but I reckon he was was safe as John Calagaris has jumped back into the battle here. He's going to give Damien a good old push. He's brought himself right into the mix here.
Hudson's managed to get through on Milano too. Caligari's going to have a look down the inside here at turn number 4. The West Australian in the VN gets that move done. Can Cook follow him through? He's now having to... he's getting a bit boxed in here. He would have loved to have gone with Hudson. He would have loved to have gone through with Caligari and pick up a couple more points. Can he find the drive out of there? We'll find out a bit later. Here's Clements after that spin. He's having to recover right through the pack. He's just cleared the Corolla of Anton Richardson. Now fighting here with Chris Thomas in the Little Tirana. And then you've got Bruce Cook in the Escort directly ahead of him.
He's down in position 14, but that car's obviously had the pace to run at the front. So 3.5 laps to go here. I'm sure he can get himself well back into the top 10.
What can the Phil Laird prepared Hudson RX-7 do against the Evo of Andy Sarandis? This has been a frantic race. He's now right on the tail as they come through turn 11 and 12. Chris Thomas is going around the outside here of Bruce Cook. That's a very brave move, trying to go down to MG corner, but he might be vulnerable here as Richardson tries to put the Corolla the long way round and follow Cook through and take a spot off the Tirana. He thinks better of it. He clears the throttle, tucks back in behind. Thomas keeps his boot in it, goes to the outside of Cook, but he's not going to have any space there either.
This is like a view of yesteryear, isn't it, Steve? How nice are these old cars? They're not too worried about scratching or bending them, though. They're all having a good go.
And ahead of them, Clements toured the kitty litter on the outside of 12. He's going to get rounded up by Cook here potentially down the front chute, and he has. He gets that done very, very smartly. Thomas is going to do the same on the BMW and gets the pair of them. Unbelievable.
Made a mistake up there and lost all his momentum on the front straight, and it's a long distance to run when you've lost all your momentum.
And some big Commodores in behind here too, McPherson and Tickner in the VE and the VH respectively. They are closing in on the battle of yesteryear, and they're looking for a way through as well, all the way up and down this field. This has been the most frenetic of all the heat races. Check this out. He lost the rear going into turn 12 and had a big old slide coming onto the top chute, and then somehow plucked a couple of gears, kept it facing the right direction, but he lost a couple of spots. Hudson has caught Butcher. Not only has Hudson got past the Evo of Sarandis, he has caught Butcher hand over fist, and he is right with the E46 now as they get into turn 11 and 12. Can Hudson snatch a win here? Oh, he's not going to, because the safety car has been called, and that's the reason why. Down at turn 4, Anthony Dana going off towards the grass fence, and Scott Tutton facing the wrong direction.
I'm not a betting man, but I would have loved to seen how that go, because I would have put my money on Butch for the win then, but I reckon I might have done my dough if Zach Hudson had a few more laps to go to play with him.
The ultimate reprieve. Butcher has been given the absolute ultimate reprieve there, because Hudson, I think, was going to line him up and go down the inside potentially toward 1, 2 or 4 until this very moment. So Dana in the BMW E36 there, he's trying to crawl to some sort of safe spot. Where did Scott Tutton go? Because he was the other one that was involved in that little incident. Oh, there's a mirror that's hanging down there. There's a little bit of damage on the front right-hand corner of the Dana number 60 as well. I'm hoping he's I think he's been able to get going there, and he's just looking for a safe spot, so he'll get out of harm's way. So good job by Anthony, but there is a little bit of debris that I noticed that's on the apex at turn number 4, so they're probably a bit unsure about making sure or letting the cars run at full tilt through turn number 4. Might cut a tyre down, but it'll also give them a chance to really properly assess any of the debris that still might be remaining down at turn number 1. It looks like a fair bit of it may have actually just been inadvertently cleared by cars running over it.
Yeah, from the camera angle, we can see looking back up the straight, it's all been sort of blown over to the what would be driver's right down into 1 there. So if everyone's sort of staying on line, then it looks okay. But obviously, we've got a lot of cars going 2, 3 wide down there. I'm surprised they've called a safety car as quick as they did for that incident at 4. Maybe there was something that we haven't seen.
Well, let's have a look here, because as the Pyack safety car comes around turn number 4, just cast your eye to the apex on the left-hand side of the shot as they actually go through there, because I think there's a couple of little bits of metal from some BMW and some possibly from some Mitsubishi Evo that need to be done there. And then there's also another incident here. Okay, so that's probably a more of a reason why we're under safety car. So that's Rohit Saini.
Actually, is that? That must be down in
Yeah, so, Glenn
jeez, it's up on 2 wheels.
Yeah, Glenn Kennedy involved as well. So I think what may have happened there, maybe Tutton's gone around and Dana's not been able to avoid the contact, and that's why he's sort of gone up on 2 wheels there, and it looked like, I think it was Glenn Kennedy maybe had a bit of minor contact there as well. So Saney's been cleared from the gravel trap, so that's why the safety car was thrown, because that was directly in the firing line. So we didn't see that one at all.
That makes a lot more sense, because that's a dangerous spot to have a car off on the driver's left there.
Yeah, such a high-speed approach to turn number 1, so they wouldn't have been comfortable with where that was. So that's the more likely reason for the safety car than the contact that we saw down at turn number 4. We are being told that it is a checkered flag this time around, so 1 lap lopped off the duration, so it's scheduled for a 7-lap race. We got the better part of 4 or 5 absolutely frenetic laps in before the checkered flag is going to fall. So if Andrew Butcher, of course we did talk a little bit about the pass down there at turn number 1, you think he may have just been able to get that done before the yellow flag zone, and if that's the case, then he will hold on to this win here. It'll give him 155 points. It'll put him right in the top end of the standings along with Tonks and Poole. So that's probably going to be the top 3 on the grid for the over 2 litre final later this afternoon. So they'll go through, that won't be a problem. It'll be about everybody else behind and where they fit into proceedings, because there has been a lot of engines and all sorts of parts that have needed to be changed on a number of cars that need to, that's caused all the points dramas to be then worked out. So they'll be, in the timing downstairs, they'll be frantically working all that out and getting us a grid a bit later on this afternoon for the over 2 litre final. So checkered flag, Andrew Butcher with the win ahead of Hudson and Sarandis. John Caligari from WA, pretty pleased with that performance, the 4th place. He drove very, very well in those conditions.
He sure did, and I noticed he's got for sale on the front guards of that car, so if there's ever a good advertisement for that, he's driving it to 4th place. That's good results.
So behind Caligari was Scott Cook, Damien Milano, Jamie Augustine and Ben Algie, and then Nigel Williams in the 163, and then I think it's Clements who managed to just get back inside the top 10 there after all of that. So there's confirmation of the results on your screen as we were just talking about them as they've come across the line behind the safety car. There is a lot of merchandise and a lot of things that are available for sale still down in the IPRA Members Hub down at Garage 20. So if you're here at the circuit and you'd like to get a little bit of memorabilia such as hats or T-shirts or a couple of stubby holders, please go down and see the team that's in the IPRA Hub in Garage 20 in Pit Lane. They're right next door to Yokohama and Traction Tyres, and get your memorabilia and remember what the 2025 Improved Production Nationals was like here this weekend. A couple of non-finishers and a few, obviously, the non-starters that are in there because they, of course, are in the previous heats.
We have climbed the mountain, ladies and gentlemen. We are 98% there for the Viola Yokohama Improved Production Nationals for 2025. We have got 14 survivors on track that are going to fight it out for the Repocharge for the last spots on the grid for the Viola Yokohama 2025 Improved Production National. Steve, it's been a big old mountain to get through this weekend. Weather, beautiful day yesterday, challenges all through this morning, lots of laps, very good value for money. And here we are, mate.
Well, we're almost there. So this is the last race before we get to the over 2 litre final and the under 2 litre finals to follow. So the under 2 litre grids has been set because of the number of cars that are here. This is the group of cars that fell outside of the automatic 45 cars that qualified for the final on points. So these are for the cars that where drivers have had a couple of little gremlins throughout the weekend, may not have finished a race here or there. Their points have sort of stacked up a bit lower, but they've got a chance to charge their way onto the back of the final for the over 2 litres, making it a 50-car grid for this afternoon's over 2 litre final. So it's a maximum capacity grid to come at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
It's the dangling of the carrot, isn't it? It's just like, go for it, guys. There's a couple of you guys. Great effort. This is the field where people have had a problem, they've had to fix it. Be resourceful, think outside the square. We want to get to the Nationals. We've been there, we've been in the races, we've done the heats, we've survived. Now let's get this done I'm going to hand it over to you, Steve, and Luke Gretsch-Gumbo. You guys have done an absolute stellar job right throughout this weekend. A couple more to go, and of course we'll have the under 2 litres in the not too distant future for their nationals, and they're fighting for the Matthew Flinders Plate. Over to you guys.
Certainly will. As we're rolling through the grid here on the screen here, this is an 11-lap Repocharge race. So starting on the pole, as far as we can see, it's going to be, it was meant to be Scott Willing, and we're not sure. It doesn't look like he's been able to get that axle repair done, or whatever's broken on the Subaru WRX this morning sorted out. So there will be a vacant grid spot number 1. That leaves Andrew Barstow in the VW Golf, starting on the front row, all on his own. Behind him, it's going to be Wayne Twist in the BMW, and then the next car we were expecting to see was the number 64 of Mick Hazelton, so looking to see where he is, but doesn't look like he's out there either. The next cars then are Chris Bodale in the EA Falcon, the orange and white machine there, and after him will be Graham Shea from New South Wales, Luke Valentich in the Astra VXR, Rob Neal from New South Wales, Andrew McMaster and David Haynes, and then Stewie Dearden starting from the pit lane. So you can see him there on the right-hand side of your screen. Stephen Gorman, Anthony Martin and Anthony Johnson. They are those that were listed here for the Repocharge. We are about to get underway, Luke.
We sure are. It's going to be a little race of the walking wounded. Hopefully all these guys have got their reliability sorted. I think there's a couple of cars out of place there, Steve, but we've got a green flag. Away we're going.
Well, we are off and underway in the Repocharge race. Luke, Valentich looks like he got a fairly decent start there. David Haynes had a very good start too, as did Tony Martin, so they've both picked up a spot or two each. Stewie Dearden in the Falcon has been released from pit lane onto the back of this group, but he's a good 4 or 5 seconds behind them as they all pour into turn number 1 here. Bit of a bonnet flapping there you're pointing out to me on the Stephen Gorman BMW.
Yeah, hopefully the bonnet pins are down. We don't want to see a bonnet going over the roof through the windscreen there. That'd be a sad way to end your weekend.
Certainly would be. Graham Shea there, the number 69, the RX-7. He's working his way forward. He's tucked in now into what's their 4th place behind Chris Bodale in the EA Falcon. But here comes the number 135. That is Rob Neal down the inside there of Graham Shea. Likewise, it's the number 11 of Andrew McMaster in the BMW. So the 2 BMWs trying to gang up there on the number 69 RX-7 down at turn number 4. Only one of them managed to sneak through, and that was Rob Neal.
They sure has. The top 3 currently are Victorians who are locals, have done a lot of laps around here, so that might play into their hands looking after some tyres and getting, as we see the 135 down the inside there. Nice little move through Hayshed.
Yeah, beautiful move there by Rob Neal. Gets past Chris Bodale and the Falcon quite handsomely there. I think he probably has a decent little bit of kit underneath him there. It'd be nice to see what he's actually got for the likes of Wayne Twist and Andrew Barstow ahead. Twisty's car obviously a little bit more developed in a production car spec, slightly faster engine underneath the bonnet of his BMW compared to what it otherwise had back in the day when it was new off the factory showroom floor. But he is holding down 2nd place at the moment, Twist. This man here, David Haynes, who was one of the drivers that had some tyre failures yesterday, he's actually moved forward a few spots, and likewise Tony Martin. He's just trying to grab the Astra VXR here of Luke Valentich, which is a turbocharged Astra. So let's see what this horsepower race does down the front straight. Old V8 Commodore versus new age turbocharged 2-litre car. And it goes in favour of the number 22, the Tasmanian, moves up a spot. In actual fact, Luke Valentich has gone back behind Tony Johnson there in the BMW too.
Yeah, long straights for a restricted turbo. Luke Valentich was very brave out in that curbing out there, because even though the track surface is dry, there's lots of little potential crevices and bits and pieces in the sawtooth curbing there to find some water and slip off the road.
And the painted lines are obviously a big issue when it comes to the wet too, because they actually take the longest amount to dry, because it's not like the bitumen where it comes out of the bitumen, the paint is actually on top and the water can actually sit on top of it for quite some time.
Yeah, it's sealed so that it's not porous, as we see the RX-7 down the inside.
So that's down the inside of Chris Bodale. So he's losing some spots here. He's actually coming under quite the rapid assault. So through goes Graham Shea. Now McMaster will be the next one to line him up. So Bodale's now 5th in the running order and at risk of falling out of that top 5. I wouldn't be surprised to see David Haynes probably by the end of this race, if he can just look after the tyres on the 127, he could potentially start to climb over the top of these other cars, and maybe he could probably be that last man, I would say, inside the top 5 that takes that last spot on the over 2 litre grid.
Yeah, probably something I'd be putting my money on. It's got the horsepower advantage down here in the long straight, so time will tell. But it's an interesting little grid here, like this very diverse group of cars here. It's as we watch these guys coming around onto the front straight, let's look at how these cars are behaving.
Just listen to the roar from the trackside cameras as they all pour around to turn number 12. You can see there Barstow's holding a nice 2.5 second margin, or thereabouts, over Wayne Twist. So very nice job for Andrew so far in the Volkswagen Golf. Rob Neal has just posted a 1 minute 52, so he's actually quite safe here as well. Graham Shea into the mid 1 minute 53s, and Bodale is the one at risk here. He did a 54. David Haynes 153 flat, so that goes to that horsepower advantage you were just talking about there, Luke. And I could actually see just behind Bodale here, it looks like David Haynes is sizing up the number 11 of McMaster. I don't think he's going to have much out of here. He'll have a bit of a drag race behind Chris Bodale out of Southern Loop. He might be getting done. Oh dear!
Twist lost a rear bar.
Yeah,
is there a reason it's come off? Has it blown a tyre up, or has it just had a mounting failure?
It looked okay from my perspective in terms of the tyres. It looks like the mount must have failed on the rear bar of the number 19 for Wayne Twist, because that's come loose at a very, very fast bit of the corner. I think he's still going at the moment. We'll just wait to see if there's any further trouble after that.
Haynes slowing there, was he?
Yeah, I'm wondering if he... I'm not sure if there's a yellow flag there, or is he actually slowing? Yeah, I think he's not taking the conventional racing line, so something...
He's got a problem.
Yeah, I think, David Haynes, you're right. I think something's not quite right there, as he is comprehensively being outpaced by even the slower cars, even by Luke Valentich's VXR there. So something not quite right. Yep, there is the rear bar of the Twist machine. Have a look at this. Yeah, just let go of its own accord. So I'm wondering if a little bit of wind maybe got under the back there, got underneath the car, and there's maybe a mounting, as you said, or a couple of grub screws or something that have failed, and it's just plumb blown it straight off.
Yeah, they're a big sail, the rear bumper bar on these cars at speed. Like, most people use some pretty big washers and things just to give them some extra support. I'm not sure how it mounts up on the back of the BMW there, but it's obviously come adrift. Hopefully it doesn't cause any issues as far as the officials deeming it to be in a dangerous position or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just backside of the curb on driver's left on the approach to turn number 4. So let's take stock of where everybody is at the moment. So Barstow still leads. He's actually doubled that advantage now over Wayne Twist. So fastest lap for Barstow, 49.7. Quite a handy lap time there. And the only driver that is sub 1 minute 50 at the moment, so he's enjoying himself out in front. Then comes Twist, Rob Neal, Graham Shea, and Chris Bodale still hanging on to 5th place there in this Repocharge race. As we focus in on that BMW that we saw bonnet flapping around a little bit on the opening laps of Stephen Gorman in the number 54, the BMW E36. He's currently running around in 8th place, giving chase to Tony Martin and Luke Valentich.
These two have been joined by a rubber band for the whole time we've been green here, so it's going to be close at the finish. I reckon these two are just going to go blow for blow every lap to the end of this race, Steve.
Yep, check the rear licence plate out on the BMW behind for McMaster.
Kegman.
The Kegman, that's it. I think that's to do with the Beers R Us business that we've been synonymous on his race cars for quite some time. That's actually a car that he actually had to change into at a very late and short amount of notice when the original car he was planning to enter for the Nationals wasn't ready. Graham Shea's going to have to go a bit of balls to the wall here around the outside at Lukey Heights, and that forces Bodale to concede defeat. He actually might cough up the spot here. Here comes McMaster down the inside at MG corner. He's got some real estate to work with now. Can he put the power down? Can he hold it around the outside at turn number 11? Bodale leaves him the space. Good racing between the two of them, but for the moment, the Falcon survives.
Yeah. This car used to be owned by Paul Vullerman. He'll be loving seeing this car having a good little battle with a few different cars here. Pity we haven't seen Paul racing in this category at all lately, but credit to him, he's handed down not a bad little mousetrap here for these guys.
Yep, certainly has. Tony Martin trying to give chase. He actually set a personal best for him. He was just sub 1 minute 54 then in behind these drivers that were into the 55s. So he's slowly closing the margin down, but he is going to start to run out of laps if he doesn't start to close the margin down at a much faster rate. This is a fantastic group just for those last spots inside the top 5.
This may be a Repocharge race, but I can tell you Andrew Barstow isn't going to be thinking that. He's just going to be relishing the clear air out in front. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is. When you are leading a race, it is so enjoyable, especially around Phillip Island. This track is just fantastic to lead a race around, Steve.
It certainly is. I was looking forward to seeing if anybody that was starting off the rear of the grid was actually going to be someone to drive their way through. So I was looking at David Haynes as probably being one of those, that considering he was starting up the back, because one of the hard charges that we had in Victorian improved production racing for so long was Andrew Rhodes Anderson, and unfortunately 12 months exactly to the date today, he did lose his life, unfortunately, doing what he did love doing, which was racing here at Phillip Island at this very meet last year. So with from all the Improved Production Association of Victoria racing community, we like to say, Andrew, 12 months on, we still miss you, buddy. I'm sure you're watching this one from up there and wishing the hard charges on as they try and charge their way onto the back of the grid.
Yeah, sure, Steve. I was thinking about Andrew this morning, and Katie, Winston and his rest of his family there. It's in 12 months without Andrew, we sure miss him, and he'd be sitting there watching these guys, because he didn't mind having a back of the grid start, as he had a few trials and tribulations over the years with that car. So he'll be screaming at these boys to make it onto the main race this afternoon.
Well, one that won't make it onto the main race this afternoon is Stephen Gorman, and he is at turn number 10 and just sort of must have run off the road, or the car must have shut down or something there, because he had to get that going again, and I'm wondering if he's going to try and limp that car into the lane. We'll wait and see how that pans out. So one unfortunately won't make it, and is a bit too far off the back to make it work. Chris Bodale's doing a sensational job here to not only stay with Graham Shea, but to hold off the advances of Andrew McMaster over the course of the 5 laps that have been completed so far. Hard to believe we're only about to chalk up the half distance mark this time around in this Repocharge race, considering the fact that there's still 12 laps to go of the final to come this afternoon as well.
This is a long race track in terms of time and distance, so 12 laps around this track is a long way, especially for the fast guys this afternoon in the final. They're going to be watching engine temps, diff temps, tyre temps. There is going to be a big aspect of, to finish first, you must first finish this afternoon. So anything can happen here, as these guys are showing now. Barstow's brought himself out a 7.5 second lead now. He's be hopefully going nice and smooth to the end of this race to make sure he gets a spot in. No point doing anything silly now. He's in the final as long as he can finish. Don't want to put the commentator's curse on him, Steve, but if he can carry on nice and smooth, that's the place to be.
Yep, he's definitely got the advantage. He's effectively done what the likes of Jared Tonks and Adam Poole have done in the overs races so far. He's built the margin. He's got the insurance policy. He can afford to not take his foot completely off the gas, but instead of driving it at 98%, he can afford to knock it back to 95%, make sure he looks after the car, brings it home, gets it into the paddock nice and straight, and then he can go about the business of making sure it's right for the final.
Yeah, exactly, Steve. I said this earlier in the day. The race car's got to become an extension of you. You've got to become one with it. You've got to feel it. You've got to listen to it. It'll talk to you through the race. The tyres will tell you what they're telling you. The brakes will tell you what they're telling you. So you've just got to drive it to a number now, make it nice and smooth, nice and sensible, and listen to that car and get it over the line.
Wondering if Andrew McMaster's having a little bit of trouble with the BMW here, because Anthony Martin in the VH Commodore, which has been recently repaired from an incident at Sandown earlier in the season, I think it was August, when he found the wall at turn number 4 with a little bit of car-to-car contact. He's just gone past McMaster as well, and he's trying to charge his way up to the back of Chris Bodale. I'm wondering if he's got maybe a little bit in reserve here. Perhaps he might be the man to take it up to Bodale and to Shea and make something happen there. Or did Graham Shea go in there a little bit too deep? It looked like the rear end was about to swap ends on him there, and yeah, he did go in a little bit too aggressively at turn number 4, and Chris is trying to seize the opportunity here to go the long way around at Siberia, but he's going to run out of real estate pretty damn quickly.
I'd love to see the in-car from these two fellas. I hope they put it up online, because this has just basically been 7 laps of side-by-side for these guys.
It certainly has. Tony Martin has now dived into the 1:52, so he is catching these two hand over fist, and he's going to be right in this battle to take one of these spots inside the top 5 in the next few seconds or so.
I'm glad he got that car fixed as quick as he did, because I was having to talk to him at Sandown. He was really dejected after that beautiful old Commodore had a fairly squished front end in it after an unfortunate incident at turn 4 there. So good to see him back, and I'm sure he'll have a fire in his belly to get back on the main grid this afternoon.
He's got the headlights on too. Maximum intimidation as this big old beautiful girl runs up to the back of the EA Falcon and the RX-7 in front of him. Let's check the times out next time around. Here's a little bit of what happened to Graham Shea. Oh, a bit of front locking and a bit of understeer. That's what did the damage.
Yeah, very easy to make a mistake down there. That is the hardest braking point on the circuit down here. So as the, I don't know where the fuel tank and that is, maybe the fuel's levels going down in that car, maybe the brake bias has changed. Oh, that's speedway into turn 1.
Yeah, that was McMaster in behind there as well. He kept it on the island though, that's the important thing. Big fistful of opposite lock kept him out of going into the kiddie litter at turn number 1. And if he had gone in there, that pretty much would have almost sealed the deal for this race and locked in the positions in the top 5. But thankfully, we stay green with this one. Tony Martin last time around, another PB, 1 minute 52.19. The guys in front of him are doing mid 153s as Bodal goes for a wild ride in the braking zone, as you called it, the very heavy braking zone at turn number 4.
Hopefully. Oh, so close. Lucky there's no damage there.
That just goes to show you how slippery that infield is. The rain might have stopped, but it is waterlogged.
That went a long way with all 4 wheels locked there. So lucky he didn't make the fence. Double wave yellows down there. Hopefully he can drive it out and that doesn't give us a safety car.
And suddenly, Tony Martin's got the last spot inside the top 5. Just like that, fortunes can change.
Oh, I feel so bad for him. He was having such a good race. It looks like he's getting that car out of the grass. I wonder if he's had a problem there, if he's just had outbraked himself, or let's see if he drives it back on the road. No, he's doing the Joker lap and he's rejoining the race.
Yeah, so he's going to rejoin from what we can see. Here he comes, and it'll be the last classified car, I think, at this stage, as they are very close to it. I think he's only ahead of
We've got a replay. I've got a suspicion he's grabbed at the grass. Oh, on the way and twists, rear bars become a victim.
Yeah, he certainly has, and I'm not sure what happened there. Did he just he turned in for turn 3 as if per normal, but then the car just didn't straighten up. So that's a very curious one for Chris, and the Wayne Twist rear bar might have copped a bit of damage along the way.
I watched that again after the race in slow-mo. I don't know if he's just made a mistake, outbraked himself and had to dive to the left to not make contact with the RX-7, or if something abnormal's gone on with that car.
Very, very strange incident. He's not the first driver that's come off at that part of the circuit across the weekend. I think Corey Horter was another person in Formula V that did something similar. Just wandered off the road of his own accord at that point in time. He turned in for the corner and the car didn't want to straighten. Maybe caught a little bit of something unusual on the approach to the corner here, because you can see there, you can see the ripple strip sort of goes around turn 3, then there's a very short break, and then there's another ripple strip there. So maybe he's been caught out by just trying to sight the braking markers, or something's caught his attention that has unfortunately meant that he's lost his focus and made quite the error.
Yeah, it's lucky. I'm sure Shane is thanking that he didn't get rear-ended then, because it looked like there was a bit of speed difference when it went past him on the grass there.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a lot of speed along there. That's a bit disappointing there for Chris Bodal. That's almost as disappointing as we saw Darren Smith eating a pizza of Pino's last night with a knife and fork.
Darren Smith's smirking about that. He's guilty as charged, I think.
No, I think he definitely is. 2 more laps to go. The race leader is stormed across the line in the background for us, and Wayne Twist is still around about 12 seconds in arrears. I can just see, not just on the Graham Shea machine here, but a couple of cars have just started to sweep the wipers in the last few seconds or so. So I'm wondering if there's just a few errant spots of rain that are just starting to float around the racetrack at the moment. Maybe at certain parts. So you did hope that the showers were going to clear fully in time for both the finals, but maybe there's another sting in the tail here over the course of the last few hours of the 35th running of Island Magic here.
There's just some slight water drops on the commentary box window as we look down towards the south down here. So when I was climbing back up into the commentary box here before, I did feel a couple of spits of rain. I didn't think it was anything to worry about, but it may be a factor in the 2 final races here, Steve.
Yeah, possibly. Well, there's a couple of races, or at least one race in between coming up on the other side of this. We're going to have a bit of a pit lane wander while they sort a few things out, while there's another race to be had. Oh, look at this down here. Yeah, This is something's going on at the bottom part of the circuit. This is not the pitches that we saw about a lap or two ago. There's definitely some rain hitting the broadcast camera lens at that part of the circuit, and I can see on the back of Tony Martin's car there as well, there are a few little contrails of water droplets coming out of the rear-wheel drive tyres on that V8 Commodore.
Hopefully there'll be enough heat in the tyres to get him around for another lap and a half. I don't think it's going to affect him too much, but I did see Wayne had the wipers on when he was coming down the front straight before.
Yeah, he's got them going here as well. So I think there's some rain that's possibly starting to appear over the back part of the circuit, coming in from Siberia, from Bass Strait. So that's where we start to see it, and we're maybe just starting to get a little bit of that on the front straight. So here's the Wayne Twist machine. I'm wondering if there's a little bit of, have a look at the front left-hand corner there. The bonnet's just flapping. Yeah, it's fluttering a little bit. I'm wondering if there's a little bit of contact damage. They might just need to repair that with a bit of race tape, as well as go and retrieve the rear bar and then put that back on the car.
Hopefully it hasn't had too much damage to that rear bar. I just had a look, Steve. The front bonnet of that car is just starting to creep up in that corner. I looked at it as it went past our commentary box window. Hopefully he can make another lap.
Yep, so he's got another lap to do. It's just the last lap right now. So all is safe for him. He's got plenty of real estate back to Rob Neal in the number 135 machine, the driver that's come a long, long way from New South Wales. I mean, it's a long, long way anyway. Doesn't matter where you come from whatever state or territory. It's a hell of a drive to get here towing a race car on a trailer. So a big thank you to everybody that's made the journey from whatever part of Australia you've travelled from for the Improved Production Nationals for 2025. Big thank you, of course, to Viola Private Wealth and Autosport, Pro Cut Tree Services and Aqua Maintain for being a part of this Nationals. This is the last hurrah for qualifying for the final to come at 4 o'clock this afternoon for the over 2 litres. Before then, we've got a little bit of a pit lane preview, and then we've got the under 2 litre final, the sports sedans, then the over 2 litre final, and then to round out the day, the Porsche 944 Challenge final race of the weekend. Great drive from Andrew Barstow. Been in the category now for, I think this is his second year in the Volkswagen Golf, and he's had an absolute ball from what all reports he's told me every time I go down and speak to him in the paddock, and he will be very, very happy now to have made his way onto the back of the over 2 litre grid. He will take the 46th position on that grid with a very, very comfortable win at the end of the day. Greets the checkered flag first, flashes the headlights. He's home. He's in the final this afternoon. Likewise is Wayne Twist. So some 11 to 12 seconds down the road, the BMW also qualifies for the final. In actual fact, Andy looks like he buttoned that off at the end of that because the margin shrunk to 9.5 seconds.
Yeah, he's 5 seconds off his quickest pace. So the track's obviously getting wetter out there, plus maybe a bit of a no-risk strategy.
Rob Neal, Graham Shea and Tony Martin are the last 3 cars of the 5 that qualify for the over 2 litre final. Andrew McMaster unfortunately had a couple of little mistakes in the back half of that race, so that took him out of the running, along with Chris Bodale, who had that spin of his own accord and dropped out of that top 5. He did so well for so long to hold on to that 5th place.
Such a good race up until that point. He'll be ruining that mistake. What a grid we've got here, Steve. 50 cars. 50 cars on the grid. I've been around this category a long time. I don't think we've seen 50 cars in an IP grid here probably since the last Nationals in 2016.
Correct. So 2016 Nationals was the last time we saw anything of this nature. The Stewie did, and Dearden's decorating Falcon, just completing the last tour. Stewie's had this is the second livery that's been on this car. Of course, it's a bit of a throwback to the Peter Jackson Falcons back in the day. He's also had the tribute livery on there for the Craig Lowndes Green-Eyed Monster, the Gibson Motorsport 00 Falcon of yesteryear. So it actually goes quite well with his own logo on this car, I think, as well, Luke.
It does. He's a Ford nut through and through.
Around the top part of the circuit for Stewie Dearden. He is the 10th runner to, or will be the 10th runner to cross the line. So 12 cars started the Repocharge, 10 got home, and unfortunately for 5 of them, that is their day. They'll be putting the car on the trailer after this one, and Barstow, Twist, Neal, Shea and Martin will go back to the garages, put a bit of fuel in, do all the maintenance they need to do, and get ready for the final at 4 p.m. So there is the top 10 that got home at the end of the day, and of course the top 5 go through to the over 2 litre final.
One of the other cars that's made a very long trip is the Steve Johnston Holden Commodore VP. I was chatting with Stephen earlier This car's made it through to the over 2 litre final, but a problem with a bit of a sticky injector on cylinder 5, something they've been dealing with over time. He's come all the way from the Northern Territory, one of a few competitors that's made their way further than the competitors from Western Australia, some of the competitors that come from Darwin. Steve's got a beautiful trailer we'll have a quick look at. Now, if anyone's planning on visiting the island of Lombok, where of course you can visit the Mandalika circuit for MotoGP and other action, this is the man you've got to talk to. Steve, how has your experience been at Phillip Island this time?
Well, highs and lows. So fantastic track, fantastic community, the Opera, and it's getting faster, finding some little quirks with the car. So getting over those and getting results. A little bit of wet track, something I'm certainly not used to, and a little bit pretentious when it comes to driving fast in the rain. So.
Well, the weather's a bit inclement here, a bit murky, a little bit depressing, but it's certainly not the weather we can expect if we were to maybe, I don't know, rent a luxury villa on the island of Lombok.
Yeah, for sure. Racetrack, not quite as good as this, but certainly they've got a beautiful racetrack right on the water, the same as this sort of aspect, looks the same on TV, and a beautiful place to visit.
Definitely. I've been checking it out, some of the footage from some of their festival of speed events, and really great to know that there's some Aussies over there, making sure there's some accommodation options for people that want to visit. You know, the fact that there's beautiful beaches, and I'm sure you can get plenty of drinks and coconuts, is certainly a side benefit. Absolutely.
And the racetrack is able for hire from little 1200cc Corolla, or not Corollas, what they call a Corolla, to a Radical 3 or Radical 10 to hire and go for a spin on the Mandalika circuit.
Definitely sounds like something that we should check out. So we'll look forward to seeing you out there, and maybe we'll catch up across the top of Australia in a few months or so.
All right, sounds good.
That's Stephen Johnston there, one of our competitors from Northern Territory. Of course, the 2024 Improved Production Nationals were held at Hidden Valley Circuit in Darwin. A very different kind of circuit. Now, we've got some of the cars starting to fire up now. One of the cars that's interesting to see is we don't see these from any other state. The Mitsubishi Magna, as multiple class champion Ray Hislop ducks past and doesn't want to have a chat. We see the 127 of Haynes making its way off to probably put some fuel in. Now, we get a lot of feedback on social media from the Mitsubishi Magnas, but we've got the Scott Cook Nissan S13 up in the air at the moment. We've got a couple of fast Sylvias, actually. The number 61 of George Michel is here as well. We'll grab Scotty. Scotty, how's your weekend been so far at the Improved Production Nationals? We see the car up in the edge of some final last-minute tweaks before the final?
Yeah, well, there's always things to do. But, yeah, it's been a long weekend and a good weekend. And it's been everything from cold weather and rain on the track and grippy track, and it's had everything. So let's hope we have a good final and we can get some good clean racing and go from there.
Bolt those Yokohamas on, use up every last millimetre of tread as we head into the new era for Improved Production.
That's why they're so good. They go to the very end the whole way. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
So we felt the temperature really drop off in the last hour or so. Cold air, dense air, better for turbos, improves your chances a bit for the final, you reckon?
Oh yeah, there's a lot going on out there. It'll come down to the run and what's happening right in front of me and right behind me and stuff. So just need to hang in there for the whole 12 laps and see if I can capitalise at the end a little bit.
So is there a little battle going on between some of the South Australians to see who turns out top dog, or is it every man for himself out there?
There's no battle. We just want each other to do well. And, yeah, there'll be a few of us hopefully in the top 10.
Yeah. Definitely. And, of course, in a couple of years' time, the Nationals will rotate back to South Australia. Yep. Of course, a little bit of redevelopment work put into Mallala Motorsport Park, so that could turn up as an option as well, maybe not the Bend?
Yeah, if I was a betting man, I'd probably say it'll be at the Bend. It's too good a complex to not use it, and it's on the right side of the city and makes it a lot easier for interstaters, and it's just an unbelievable complex. So I'd say it'll be at the Bend.
Now, we saw an incredible Nationals there the last time in the rotation, so it'll be good to see some cars turn up there in a couple of years' time. The rotation, there's not one track that suits any particular kind of car in every single part of the rotation.
Yeah, no, it is a good track. It's got a bit of everything. So, yeah, hopefully a lot of guys get over from interstate to have a go.
No, definitely. We'll leave you to complete your preparations. All the best for the final.
Thanks. Cheers.
So there we go. So the Improved Production Nationals work on a rotation system. So each of the states and territories that have a racing club, so West Australia, Northern Territory, South Australia, Victoria, Tasmania, New South Wales and Queensland, run in a 7-year rotation period. So last year we were up at Hidden Valley in Darwin. The year before, Sydney Motorsport Park in Sydney. The year before, Morgan Park Raceway in Queensland. 3-year hiatus in Nationals due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Graham Shea in the number 69 in Garage 22, the last competitor to make it through to the last spot on the grid for the over 2 litre final, took out position 4 in the Repocharge. The RX-7 is a staple of improved production racing from before its time in club cars and in road registered before that. And you can see why. Lightweight, low slung, lots of availability of tuning parts for the 13B rotary engine. The amount of rotary engine development that's gone on in improved production over the years is massive. Huge developments in porting technology, in injection technology, and then as cars have gotten more and more advanced, better braking, better drive lines, better axles, better fuel systems. I was having a chat with one of the famous RX-7 tuners just previously, and he said the advent of E85, that's 85% ethanol, not 15% regular 98 octane fuel, has been a godsend for rotaries because it allows them to get cooling into parts of the engine they don't get to. Matty Logan, the Holden Commodore VF, has been having a great run in the Victorian State Championship. He's there putting the final bit of fuel. If we spin around, there goes Brett Waters in the 206 Peugeot. He's actually borrowed that car back from the competitor he sold the car to because his Peugeot 208 GTI not running effectively enough. So he's trying to take it really, really easy in that car. Now, one of the cars we've seen beautifully presented on track with one of the late model HSV GTS of Rohit Saini here. As we can see, still an LS-based engine under the bonnet. Doesn't look that technologically advanced, but I can tell you there is so much work that goes on into these cars. We'll grab a quick word. How's your weekend been so far this weekend?
We put a new engine in after we had an incident in Queensland. So we're just trying to do using it like a test weekend. It's a production car running in improved production. So we know our limits, so we're not going to go crazy. But the car is going good and we're having a good time.
Definitely, and you've done a really good job with the livery of the car. It's nice and it's clean. You're looking after your partners. Great to see some of those 3E production cars make their way over to improved production. All it often takes is a change of tyres and a change of stickers.
Yeah, mate, I'm pretty new to racing, so I thought it's production car, not a proper race car, gives me a good opportunity to learn. And I've got another car at home which runs in Vic V8s and stuff. So I'm just taking it as a learning.
Well, we wish you all the best for the final. We're going to go check out the other interesting story in your garage, which is the Subaru, which came back in with some wheels pointing the other way. Best of luck for the final.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
So we've got our camera panned on the Subaru WRX, the number 41 of Scott Willing. Now, for those of you that were watching the heats earlier this morning, saw an incredibly weird occurrence. The left-hand rear hub on this car basically departed company. Turns out it was a drive shaft failure. The hub's come disconnected. The wheel is still connected to the trailing arm and all the rear suspension elements, but it was sitting out here with about 48 degrees of tow out. It's torn through the sidewall of the tyre. It's actually bent all the brake caliper brackets back, but they've managed to get the car in a position they can roll it back on the trailer. It's not in a position that's going to be able to take up its place. It was actually set to take up its place at the front of the grid for the Repocharge. Unfortunately, it didn't take part in that. It will take no further part in the event. Just one of those stories. Scott's done a lot of work with the car, but just a really random failure of an original equipment part. We see plenty of those stories up and down the pit lane. And then one of the really cool stories from that Repocharge was the car that finished in first place. It was the Barstow Volkswagen GTI. I can see that they've got the car here. We'll sneak over and have a chat. Now, Tony, you've made it through to the final. You're all good. You're all set, ready to go?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So, so we've seen you have plenty of runs over this side of the ditch, or this side of the straight, as we'd say, in your Commodore the last few events. This puts a really nice dot point, tick in the box for your time over here on the mainland this year?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm wrapped. That was all my goal this weekend, was to try and make the final, but after yesterday I thought, no way. But yeah, that was cool. I enjoyed that. But I don't know if I've got enough energy to go again, to be honest with you.
Now, it sounds like you're going to have to look out for Andrew Barstow here in his Golf GTI. He's pumped up. He's had that win in the Repocharge. The Golf could, if the weather's inclement, that Golf could have a pretty decent turn of speed in the final.
Oh, absolutely. He's a quick young man, young Andrew, so drives it well. So, we'll see how we go. We might have something for him. Who knows?
Now, based on my calculations, I'm guessing Tasmania gets the Nationals in 2 years or 3 years' time, I think?
27.
2027. Now, the question is always, do we go to Simmons Plains or do we go to Baskerville? If it's your vote, where are you going?
Well, I'm the president, so I'll make the choice.
And the choice is?
I don't know yet.
There's plenty of elections between now and 2027, isn't there?
Yeah, there's no one going to take my spot. Trust me. No, look, it should really be Simmons, but we'll see what happens. So we'll just, it'll depend on who wants to run the meeting for us as well. So we'll see. We'll probably start doing that after Christmas. We'll have a look at that. So.
Definitely. No, we've always seen incredible racing in the Nationals at both Baskerville and indeed at Simmons Plains. Plenty of different types of corners to suit different kinds of cars.
Yeah, and for that reason, Baskerville's probably the favourite, but Simmons brings up some good racing too, don't worry. So yeah, we'll see how we go.
We'll let you get ready for the final. We can't seem to find Andrew. He's disappeared off here. One of the cars that we saw is back out the final, the Glen Kennedy BMW E30. A little bit of damage from contact with Anthony Deanna, who is a scrubbing from the final. We've got Wayne Twist, who's made his way through to the final. Wayne's looking deeply at all the squiggles that come out of the Motec in his car. Now, Wayne, great job in the Repocharge. You've found your way onto the grid for the over 2 litre final. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I sort of didn't do as well as I was hoping in the Heat 3, so I thought, a bit disappointing. So, anyway, I ended up at the Repocharge. But now I get double the amount of racing. Did well there. But there is a trouble. I lost Maria Barr, and you'll remember Paul Vullerman. Well, someone else is driving his car now, and someone had placed it nicely on the side of the track. But my nemesis, Paul, the new driver, he came along, went off the road and drove over it.
It was just such an attractive target. I mean, I can't blame him.
I know that's because Paul and I have been fighting over the years, and the car just couldn't help itself, and I had to go over and ruin my bar, even though it was sitting on the grass.
Now, we should explain to people, this is not your average BMW E46 compact. It's had a big heart transplant, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It's E46 M3 running gear all the way through, really. And I've just put a set of cams in it. It's and I haven't driven for a while, so this weekend's been a big shakedown for it, and especially today with doing the Repocharge and the final. Big deal, yeah.
Well, you've definitely got your money's worth, and you're among friends in the garage. We've got our president of the South Australian Club racing his S54 engine E30, Tony Johnston in his V8 engined M3. We've got Steve Gorman next door in another M3. This really is BMW paradise here in these garages.
Yes, it is. And we did have Adrian, but he's gone home too, unfortunately. So it's a bit of a shame there. But yeah, I think most of the BMWs are still going, which is good, really good.
We're looking forward to a really strong showing from, say, Andrew Butcher out the front of the over 2 litre field. If the weather happens to turn in the middle of the race, he could be an inside chance, I reckon, for victory.
Yes, it could be. In fact, in that race, the weather did change slightly. I had to have the wipers on for the second half. It just got slightly greasy, so it's pretty hard to set your car up when the weather changes halfway through a race. But anyway, that's life, isn't it?
Well, we'll leave you to your preparations. Have fun looking at the squiggles, and hopefully we'll catch up with you after the race and enjoy a cold, tasty beverage between us. So that's one of the competitors that's made that jump from the Repocharge into the final. For those of you familiar with speedway racing, it's like finishing at the front of the B main and making your way to the back of the grid for the A main. One of the things we like in improved production is some of the tribute liveries. Mark Tutton's Commodore VL SS Group A in this beautiful Walkinshaw body kit. It's got a bit of a non-period correct dent in the door, although that being said, considering how hard they used to race back in Group A, some might say that's a fairly typical dent to have in the door. Garage 33, Jason Clements with his BMW E36. This car was originally built out of a super touring chassis by Justin Wade out of Queensland. This is a car that runs a BMW S54 engine inline, 3.2 litres. So it's just It's just over the 3 litre class limit, so it runs up against the 3.5 litre, 4 litre, 5 litre, even 6 litre cars. Now that dulcet tones you can hear in the background, that's the S54 engine of Andrew Butcher's car being done. We'll dive in here. Mr. Clements, what's it been like running at Phillip Island in this beautiful E36 Super Tourer chassis?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. We've had a really good weekend down here. It didn't start out the best. We had a little bit of a setup issue there on Friday, but we've tuned it up from there, and it's been really good since then. So yeah, looking forward to a good final.
Now, I've been meaning to catch up with you. You had a little bit of a detour at the exit of turn 12 in one of your heat races, where you might have put a couple of stone chips in the underside of this beautiful car. What happened there? It just got a little bit wet, got away from you?
Yeah, look, I was trying to catch the group in front of me and pushed a little hard, mate. Made a mistake, put it out in the gravel. So yeah, put my hand up. That was my fault. So I just head down for the final, mate. We'll bring it home from there.
Well, it sounds like we've got an absolute bevy of fast BMWs in there. We wish you all the best for the final.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
So that concludes our walk through the paddock. It's an incredible grid of cars in both the under and over 2 litre finals. Can't wait to see what comes up next on the screens of Blendline TV.
Marshalling now. We can just see the cars getting themselves into position and just getting themselves set now. I tell you what, though, this is not an ideal lead into a Nationals weather-wise. I'm Darren Smith, joined by Steve DeVries, who has himself climbed a mountain this weekend and in weeks preceding, including all of the Victorian community that have put all this show on for everyone to come from all over the country. But Steve, rain, hey, this is going to make it a very, very different final.
This is certainly going to make it a very, very different final. Good afternoon, everybody. We've been looking forward to this for the last couple of days, weeks, months, whatever you want to call it. It is something that everybody's been looking forward to. What you're looking at here in the marshalling area, this is actually the 3rd row of cars. Normally there's, typical Island Magic, you would have the exit point and you would have 1st and 2nd and 3rd and 4th all the way along the run-up so that just everybody can leave there. They've actually got that many cars on the grid. They actually have to have a 3rd row of cars here just to squeeze them all in because there's 50 of them in this final.
Fantastic to see a grid like this. We're not often given the task to represent 50 race drivers on track all at the one time, but we get to do it once every 6 or 7 years here in Victoria with the Improved Production Nationals. Let's have a look at this grid because it is immense and we've got to get through it. Adam Poole on pole. Absolutely slip of the tongue there. The South Australian in car number 2 will start out of pole position. Jared Tonks, the Victorian who wrestled the championship this year, fittingly on the front row of the grid with the guy that had it the year before.
Yeah, certainly is. So the man that's been able to hold sort of a candle to Adam Poole in the last couple of times he's come to Victoria, starting on the front row of the grid alongside him. So the interesting thing will be the drag race to turn number 1, who can get the better start in these conditions, which are slowly sort of deteriorating as the day goes on. Andrew Butcher in 3rd place alongside Cade Lehman. So Andrew will definitely be looking to try and capitalise on the start here and see if he can get one up over the big V8s. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight, isn't it? 6 cylinders versus a whole bunch of V8s. That's not the best spot you want to be in. He's surrounded by them.
I tell you what, we look at the next row of the grid, positions 5 and 6. Position 5 is a rotary-powered RX-7 for many, many years. That was what you bought too. The Matthew Flinders plate to take victory, and indeed in the Nationals as well. Ben Schutz has qualified into 5th place for this one. And if the 50k plate for the Big Bangers, the sports sedans, is anything to go by, it was rotaries 1 and 2. And they didn't start on the front row of the grid. So, interestingly enough, the winner came from the rear of the grid. So, that will buoy Ben Schutz going into this. A little bit underdone with that car. Justin Keys, ripping car to see that. The orange Commodore, which has had a history with Skellender at the wheel, looks a lot different to what it did then, but a very, very fast Commodore. Not in the modern shape like we're seeing a lot of winners these days in the older RVS shape of car there. So yeah, Justin Keys starting out of the 3rd row. Andrew Sarandis, well, here's the one. I'm going to call him Handy Andy in the wet because this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, if it comes down any harder, he's definitely going to be one to watch. He's starting out of 7th place, which is the outside of the 4th row of the grid. So his starts have been electric. So he will definitely pick up a couple of spots off the start straight away, but he'll be then starting to pray for rain. Alongside him is his fellow South Australian Scott Cook in the Nissan Silvia. We then go back to Damien Milano, another man who has notched multiple state and club titles here in Victoria, but another one who's missing that national challenge or that national championship from his CV. Aaron Lawrence from Queensland starting in 10th. Jason Clements, we saw him take a couple of trips through the gravel in the final heat race in the 255, that beautiful BMW E36 there in 11th. John Caligari, the first of the West Australians, there in 12th. Jamie Augustine and Zach Hudson from Queensland. Look out for that number 65 coming through from P14. I expect he's going to be a very, very handy driver behind the wheel in these tricky conditions. I expect to see him inside the top 10 fairly quickly.
And he's an occasion racer. He rises to these occasions, and don't be confused by his starting spot out of 14s. It's going to be hard to win from that point, but if anyone can do it, it's going to be Zach Hudson. He's got to deal with John Caligari right in front of him first. That's going to be pretty interesting to see that. Ben Algie is the next one along the line. Matt Logan, an immense Victorian, very, very fast racer. Ash Isarina, an RX-7 in car number 29, and he could actually follow Zach Hudson through if it comes to it. George Michel in the next one. Chris Thomas, Nigel Williams. Ian McLennan, the current and reigning Victorian champion, out of position number 21, the car 115. Lee Forrest, car number 14, out of position 22. There he is, the rising sun on the roof of that car. It's going to be one of these cars we're going to have to cut it in half and count the rings to work out how old it is when Lee finishes racing this car. Great to have Lee here at the track. It's not a Nationals without him. Graham McPherson down there in car number 73 out of position number 23. Another Victorian in a Commodore that's fast. Mark DeFanis, another fast car. So stop me here. These cars are all fast. It's just that you read through this list and they're just rapid races all in their own rights. Tigner to Bruce Cook. Peter Dixon down there in 27 in that Monaro. Tom Allen in number 28, a racer over 3 decades now, fast. Ricky Hogan, then we go to Scott McLean in the 778. Glenn Kennedy, Ayrton Richardson in the number 12, starts out at 32. Trent Huamari, another one of the RX-7s, and he starts out of position number 33. Steve Johnston, Jason Palmer, Steve Campbell, Rohit Sani down there as well. Robert Baird, another guy that's been around a long, long time. And you see that Brap brand and the zebra type livery on his RX-7. That's what he's all about. Russell Pilvin, the Victorian there as well, into improved production contention out of 39. Anthony D'Anna, Mark Kempster, Bruce Henley. He was around at the first Nationals, and he was a younger man and a slimmer man back then too as well. Mark Tutton, back to Mark Easman. Andrew Barstow, Wayne Twist, Victorian, again into his third decade of racing. Rob Neal, Graham Shear, Anthony Martin and Andrew McMaster. And that is 50 cars in contention for the Viola Yokohama 2025 Improved Production Nationals.
Those last 6 cars that you mentioned, Darren, they're the ones that got onto the back of this grid via the Repocharge. Now, originally it was meant to be 5, and I noticed Andrew McMaster's on there as well. So what that means for me is that somebody that had made it through into the top 45, unfortunately, is not going to be able to take the start in this one. And I'm not quite sure who it is, but that means that they've elevated Andrew McMaster into the last spot on the grid, because naturally everybody has moved forward 1 spot as a result.
Talking about forward, eyes forward from here on in for everyone as Pooley just slows everyone down. This is going to be quite the weight on the grid for 50 cars to make their way around. They're still coming up onto Lukey Heights at the moment, so slowly coming in. There's a car coming down the pit lane. Is it Jamie Augustine?
Correct.
It is Jamie Augustine. So he is taking himself out of the start. He's not making his way to pit exit by the looks of things, so it's not a strategy call in any way, shape or form. He looks to be rolling down to try and maybe find his pit garage or a crew member. So drama for Jamie.
Yeah, he's one of the drivers that was burning the midnight oil on multiple occasions to try and make the grid. In fact, I think they ran the car up on the dyno a couple of days before, and there was all sorts of gremlins. They had to then go back to the drawing board and sort them out with an overnight repair. So wouldn't be surprised to see if there's some sort of gremlin that's resurfaced, but he's just checked in with somebody and he's coming down the lane now. So he was meant to start sort of in that, I think, 6th or 7th or 8th row, somewhere around there. He's going to now have to start from the pit lane, which means he's got to watch all these other 49 cars go past before he can even get to the track, and that's going to be heartbreaking.
This is nerve management for him. You want to go out and line up on your grid and get the good race start. Now, his adrenaline will be absolutely pumping. Now what I have to do, I've got to get past another 38 cars to get to where my 13th spot was, where I should have been starting this race. Lee Forrest now, he drops into position down there as well, and Lee Forrest in position number 22, he comes to a halt.
Yeah, so Augustine was meant to start next to Zach Hudson, so that's why there is a vacant spot on the left-hand side of your picture when you look at the grid when we return to the front-on shot. So that's where he was supposed to start. This 50-car field is almost gridded up. There's the last couple of cars just coming around the corner now. So Graham Shea, Andrew McMaster, and then the last man to get into position is Tony Martin.
Robert Baird just drops into position as well. The RX-7 headlights on. And in behind him, Anthony Downer, Bruce Henley in the blue car. There it is, the green flag. We are poised for the 2025 Viola Yokohama Improved Production Nationals. We cast our eyes to the front of the grid. The revs are just going. Bunta, pull, clutches it off nicely, walks it away. Sarandis and four wheels in the dirt, and there's a coming together with Butcher and Shoots there as well, and he goes off into the grass. Sarandis has gone rally style, and he has gone absolutely backwards. Whatever advantage he had has gone. Shoots has disappeared backwards as well. He's got Damien Milano breathing down his neck.
Shoots and the Andy Sarandis machine, they both tried to occupy the same bit of tarmac. Unfortunately, Shoots was there first, and Sarandis had absolutely nowhere to go. He had to take the evasive action on the grass, and as a result, the Rallycross heritage of that number 99 did not compute because it did not give him the traction he needed. He's now down around Graham McPherson. He's fallen well into the mid-teens in terms of the numbers of cars on this grid. In behind Ashley Isaracina from Queensland. He's now trying to stay ahead of Graham McPherson as we go back to the front of this field here. And Cade Lehman, he might fancy himself in these conditions. They are challenging down here at turn 4, 5 and 6. They've got the wipers going, and we called about Zach Hudson a bit earlier on at the start of this race to keep an eye out for him. I did say it wouldn't take him too long to be in the top 10, and that's precisely where he is right now. He's about 7th or 8th.
Sadly, Andrew Butcher and Ben Shoots came together there as well, and I think there's damage on the Shoots RX-7 because he has gone backwards, and Butcher has as well. So it is a beautiful start to the TRP Ductwork Monaro of Adam Poole. That was the dream start in the big car. Tonks down the inside. He shows the number 91 to him. Let's keep it off each other, guys. We've got 12 laps. Keys throws his keys in the bowl there as well. He wants to be in the mix as the orange Commodore just about lifting the left-hand front off the ground there. Side by side, shoves the nose in, grabs second place off Tonks. Tonks said, you wanted this early, mate. The rod and gun Commodore. We got 12 laps to get through. We'll catch you in the next one.
This part of the circuit is dry. The Paul Monaro should walk away and have a nice little healthy advantage at the bottom end of the straight, but he's not pulling away at the vast rate of knots that I would have normally expected him to. Maybe this is a little bit of tyre preservation because it's a 12-lap journey. It's a 50-kilometre journey. You've got to make sure the car can make it to the end, so he doesn't probably want to go out this hard this early. He's got to have a little something in reserve, but he's just got to be able to edge his way past. The nerves will be in there. He should have won that championship last year. He won it in 2023, and he desperately wants another one, but he's got to make sure he can get to the end.
You know what I'm seeing here, Steve? I'm seeing kids going out on the ice rink just learning how to ice skate first because these conditions are very slippery. Down the inside now, sneaks the 96 of Aaron Lawrence, and he's had an immense start. Zach Hudson's going with him here as well. Butcher, no answer. But have a look at this magnificent car of Cade Lehman in that tribute livery. He's getting a short back and sides by a 4-cylinder and a rotary and a 6-cylinder drawing alongside there as well. Cade stays with it. Have a look at this. This is brave. He is very aware of the car he's got under him. Zach Hudson.
Super committed round the outside at Hayshed, and he notches another position there on the Lehman Commodore. That gives it incentive for Butcher to try and go around the outside at Lukey Heights. There might not be any space there, and in fact there's not. Cade Lehman covers that off very, very quickly heading down the hill. Geez, how quickly did that position change hands at turn number 8? That was a super move from Zach Hudson right around the outside of Lehman.
Have a look at this. Now we're at the 255 there of Jason Clements. He smells blood in the water as well and circling like a shark. He's poised to pounce here, but the 59 gathers it all back up. Andrew Butcher, fantastic racing car driver, and he is doing a very good job. Cade Lehman has fended them off there. He had a very much full mirrors there. He's gathered his thoughts now, and a very mature drive over the last lap or so for Cade Lehman. He's gathered it up and he's got his eyes forward. Well, the 55 of Clements sliding through turn 1.
Certainly is. He did take a slide through the gravel trap in the final heat race, so he definitely wants to make sure he keeps it on the island there, but he is still throwing everything at the back of that BMW E46 driven by Andrew Butcher as he tries to pursue the Lehman Commodore, who has just a little bit of an advantage coming out of Southern Loop. I tell you what, the Queenslanders have absolutely come to play. They run 3rd, 4th and 5th. This is the part of the circuit where I suspect that the likes of Aaron Lawrence and Zach Hudson will start to get a little bit of an advantage. These tricky conditions down at turn 4, 5 and 6 and around the back section of the circuit. I saw a green flag waving there. I'm wondering if there might have been a car that was off the circuit somewhere and then they've now gone back to green flag conditions after the incident's been cleared.
Zach Hudson now trying to chase down Lawrence here in the background. Cade Lehman just wrestling with his Commodore underneath him, driving nicely. He's driving it very directly. If they're going to get past him, they're going to have to take a good move here. Butcher, now the big Commodore just drifts out wide and he just opens up the corner there. There's no need to fight this out when you've got your wipers on, and Butcher is clearly faster here. So again, wise racing by Lehman.
Rick Hogan, big engine failure of some description coming through the back part of the course, smoking heavily on the racing line, so he's just got to be careful. He doesn't want to impede any of these other cars that are coming up to the very, very fast and blind turn of Lukey Heights. And we've got Matt Logan facing backwards at the bottom of the hill at MG Corner, and they're having to go either side of the big number 43 to make sure they clear it. He finds a method to be able to get onto the grass. Big 180-degree fistful of opposite lock and a big loud pedal to boot, and he hasn't been able to get himself quite out of that just yet. He might struggle to get himself out of that grassy bog at that rate. Well, he went in there in position 14. I think he's going to come out in the donuts there as well. He's going to be leaving some donuts on the track. Have a look at this. Zach Hudson, what a racing car driver. 2 wheels over the ripple strips. They'll be wet and slippery, and he is moving this car around underneath him. He's like a dog on the wet tiles in the laundry at the moment. He's skating around all over the place. George Michelle.
61.
Yep, George Michelle from South Australia. That's down at turn number 2, so he's gone off on a little adventure right through the gravel trap, managed to surf it out the other side. Hudson is through on his fellow Queenslander and Aaron Lawrence, and not with a minute to spare because Butcher was mowing down that margin pretty quickly.
So Zach Hudson now puts himself inside the top 5 and goes out after battle here. He has to put that away. He has to put this to rest now. Lawrence trying to go with him, and we've gone safety car. Safety car around the track now, so safety car has been called. Hudson luckily got through before that was called. We're on lap 4 of 12. Let's just gather our thoughts and have some breath here, because there's Ben Schutz. Now Ben Schutz got a ripping start, got tangled up with Butcher. 2 Victorians came together, and that was what sent Sarandis to the dirt off the start. There's Sarandis now.
Just ahead of Caligari there as well, so when you look at where they are on the order, they're well inside the top 20, but well outside the top 10 where they were hoping to be. And I suspect that the safety car is going to be as a result of the number 124, the Reach Rock Art Commodore, Rick Hogan, which is probably caught up somewhere around Lukey Heights and would need to be recovered. I think they're just waiting to get the field under control, and then they'll send the safety car out and send the recovery crews out to get that car picked up. They'll probably have to inspect the surface and just make sure there's no oil been laid down on the circuit there, because we did have a deteriorating surface in qualifying on Saturday morning. And yep, there you can see the flat tow truck moving into position, possibly to pick up the Commodore of Rick Hogan.
Gee, I tell you what, as if these conditions weren't tricky enough, getting a little bit of oil down is going to make it very, very eye-opening for these races. Here's a guy that got a ripping start. Let's go back to this. There goes...
That was George Michelle going off the Southern Loop.
Yep.
So that was all on his own. There's no contact involved there. That's maybe just purely going in a little bit too quick.
just looking at the red and blue stripes on that car, a little bit of Datsun rally ability, I think the slogan was back then, although this is a Nissan in its car. He struggled
to get it back on the island as well.
Absolutely struggled. But, gee, I tell you what, we think back to the start of this race and where the positions are. It's only Adam Poole and Jared Tonks that really are still commanding those positions. But Poole he did not make a song and dance at the start. He had nice clutch take up. He grabbed second gear about 2 or 3 car lengths out of the box and then just drove away from it. That start, amazing.
He's always criticised me whenever I call him on the broadcast for leaving a nice pair of licorice straps because his starts have not always been the greatest, but that was the most beautiful start I've seen him do in quite the number of years. It just walked it off the line absolutely perfectly, and he had a margin by the time he got to turn number 1. Although he didn't walk away with it as we expected him that he might because of the way the tricky conditions are, but he had edged that margin out, a 10th here and a 10th there. He had it out to 1.6 seconds before that safety car was called. So he was just finding his rhythm, just getting into the momentum, and he was just starting to put the hammer down just little bit by little bit. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you can just make sure you're that 1 or 2 tenths of a second quicker and you're not being caught from behind, it goes a long way for your psyche.
The interesting thing is the lead-up races to here, 4 laps in, he'd gone about 4 or 5 seconds clear of the field. It's only 1.8 seconds back to Jared Tonks as we went safety car. I think that's actually more credit to Jared Tonks because on lap 4, Adam Poole did a 158 dead and Tonks did a 157.5. So he was half a second faster on lap number 4. So is the tyres on Tonks' car set to come on mid-race distance and towards the end? And maybe Adam's the same. Maybe his lack of getting away from the field was he's got the car set to come on at lap 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, well, we talked about being able to go the distance. It's a 50 lap or scheduled to be a 50 lap race. So going that long distance is very, very critical. Let's have a look at a replay here. There's possibly something that's gone on down here at Siberia and up in the back of the shot. Actually, it's actually up at turn number 4. That's John Caligari and Andy Sarandis, I think it is. Yes, it is. So they came together, and in fact, the side skirt of the number 15 from Western Australia looks like it's lying on the track surface there. So not only did they have to pick up Rick Hogan from around the back, they would have had to probably clear a little bit of debris there from the little bit of contact that happened. It's great to see that it hasn't been a huge amount of contact over the course of the weekend so far. It's been fairly clean racing apart from that little incident there, and of course the big major one that we saw in the under 2 litre final between Kyle Smith and Brad Harris. Apart from that, it's generally been a pretty clean affair.
It certainly has, and I've got to say this is a big deep breath for anyone running a V8, just to have a little bit of a lap or two to just cool down the brakes and tyres there. Ben Schutz, I guess he's wondering what would have happened because he got an absolute ripping start. In fact, he dragged my eyes to his presence at the start over the first 100 metres because he'd gone up a couple of spots. It was just that Butcher had moved over there, and then when he moved over, Sarandis had gone there. And there's a lot of debris on the entry to turn 2 as well. That wasn't there a couple of laps ago.
Well, I can tell you, I reckon I know what that might have been from. I wouldn't be surprised to see if that might have been a result of what possibly happened to George Michel. Because remember, he actually shot straight through and was actually surfing through the kitty litter at turn 2. You can actually see some wheel tracks there in the grass. So I think maybe he's had a moment. He's tried to save the car. You can see the contrails, the snake trails through the gravel trap there and then through the grass. And I think maybe he's come back on. Maybe a bit too much speed and he's just shot straight out the other side of turn 2.
The problem I see with that is an ace dive up the inside car. If you're an underpowered car and you can get a dive up the inside of the turn 2, it sort of negates that. That's just going to be like the ice skating rink. It's got water and now it's got gravel on top of it. It sort of negates a bit of I'm going to say a 10% chance of a passing opportunity down into turn number 1. Good spot to pass if you're brave enough to do it. And I reckon there's about 50 cars out there that have got their brave pills on and will go for it if they have to. Here we go.
No, so it's not George Michel. It's something else that's gone on. So this is what happened to Michel. He actually just went off of his own accord. So it's not, unfortunately, I've called that wrong. Apologies to George Michel, but he's not the reason why.
I tell you what, in years gone by when that sand trap wasn't there, you would have found the wall very quick and very hard across there, particularly as we've mentioned it numerous times in the telecast here today. You hit that green accelerator and that's exactly what happens. You are accelerating across the top of the grass. It's an aquaplane of sorts, And look at this field, it is snaking its way back up around the top end of the track. Lights are still on the safety car. Not sure why. I think we've done our recovery. No, the recovery is still going on just off to where we are now at the top of the hill there. But these guys are going to want to bunch up a whole lot more of that over the next 3/4 of a lap or so. The Grenadier Ineos is an unlikely safety car, but boy, oh boy, it's been absolutely the right weather for it this weekend, hasn't it? Gets up and goes. Here we go, off the start. Let's just watch these guys back on row 2, 3 and 4. The Evo gets away beautifully. Shoots goes to get out of the way there. Cade, he got a great start there, and Cade Lehman. And then the rest of this field, they all just sort of slowly get away. Tom Allen getting away a little bit slowly there. They're starting to bank up behind him. Rob Baird got a ripper in the Zebra car.
And the disappointing part for me is to seeing the crew pushing Jamie Augustine back. So whatever he came into the lane to try and fix, he went to the far end of pit lane. And unfortunately, when we pushed back into the garage, so didn't take any further parts. So registers that did not start. So disappointing end for Jamie. As you said, the Ineos Grenadier safety car, which I think Pyack only picked up in the last 12 to 18 months. So they've been getting the workout over the course of the last couple of years. And we can see while the safety car leads the field down to turn 1, the Rick Hogan Commodore has been picked up and is coming back to pit lane. So we're hoping that we will see a resumption of the racing here in the next 2 to 3 minutes or so. If we go around here, we have completed 6 laps of the 12-lap journey. That means by the time we come around and take a restart, we will have 5 laps to crown the national champion for the over 2 litre category here in improved production, the 2025 Yokohama and Viola Private Wealth Improved Production Nationals.
If anyone's got any doubt about the national content of this, leading the race is South Australian, 2 a Victorian, a Queenslander, and another Queenslander. So for those that have come down and joined us Mexicans for the weekend, I tell you what, they're hunting in packs to try and take that trophy home, aren't they?
Yeah, they certainly are. Of course, it's a State of Origin trophy that's calculated and is awarded annually as part of the national challenge to the state that produces the most amount of points. So at this stage, I guess you've got South Australia leading from Victoria, and then the 3 Queenslanders that are up there. That's going to be a bit of a hard and difficult one to crack. It's not done solely all on the final results. It's of course done over a multitude of results across the weekend and a multitude of different things that have occurred. So that will be awarded, I believe it's around 5 o'clock, down around garage number 20. So if you're here at the track and you would like to go and see all the silverware handed out, some beautiful trophies that have been produced down there, we want to see you down at garage number 20.
Just picking a couple of my favourite cars out, Stephen, giving them the hurry along there. The last one, of course, the Tasmanian Lee Forrest, an absolute, there's no doubt we can put the word legend in front of his name in improved production car racing and indeed in Australian motorsport. A grassroots racer at heart, does it for all the right reasons, just loves to go racing, and we've mentioned it before, sadly, Gary McKay and David Cox didn't get their Holdens out for this weekend, but they're those sort of guys that are synonymous with one car and one car only, and their commitment to bringing that rig to a race meeting is second to none, and Lee Forrest is out there doing it very well.
Here we go. We are getting ready for a resumption here in the over 2 litre final for the 2025 Improved Production Nationals. The rule is no passing before you get to the start-finish line. It is a single file restart. If you're Adam Poole, you've got to pick the right time to go. If you're Jared Tonks, you don't want to be caught napping. You want to be nipping at the heels of this TRP Ductwork number 2 Monaro all the way down the front straight, because you've only got 5 laps to make the move, make it stick, and get out of Dodge.
Away goes, and this is the horsepower race down the straight. That's Zach Hudson now. He's just going to suffer a little bit here to wind the rotary up a bit. Ben Schutz goes nicely. He is tucked right in behind Cade there as well. And we are back underway for the Viola Wealth Yokohama Improved Production Racing Association Nationals for 2025.
Butcher.
The manoeuvre goes.
Butcher gets it done on Aaron Lawrence. He's wasting no time at the start here. The big BMW gets the move done on the Sylvia, and you called it already, Darren. There's a few lock brakes I saw in the background there as they're all trying to surf their way through all the gravel that's made its way onto the racing surface on the approach to turn 2.
The Epilepsy Foundation car number 55 of Butcher just gets through on that Nissan very, very nicely on that restart. Poole as well, just easing away here. Zach Hudson,
oh, that's
round
a dive.
the outside. That's a good move.
That's a big dive from Andrew Butcher under brakes at turn number 4. He makes it work. How did he pull that off? He came from a long way back. He's turned it up to 11, Butcher. Moves himself up into 4th. Can he get on the podium?
Big push here. He's got a guy that's won the Nationals and knows how to do it in his mirrors and won't say die. The lead-tuned RX-7 here, the first of the 10 or 11 that we had entered here for this weekend. A happy return for the RX-7s. Let's hope they don't disappear until the next Nationals and continue to race in their own state championships. Gee, it's getting misty up on top of Lukey Heights there again. Oh, Ben Schutz, massive lock up on the left front. That will make a Yokohama a museum piece on lap number 8 of this one. Have a look at Macca, the reigning Victorian, or just reigning Victorian, in the Pro Cut car. He's thrown his company's name behind this event as one of the commercial sponsors, and he's now starting to push hard.
He certainly is. He started well down the order, well out of position for what he was expecting to be. He's tried to march his way forward. He's on the fringes of the top 10 here. He's going to have to ratchet it up to 11 to really make heads and tails here and really catch up to be in that top 10 spot, which is occupied by Scott Cook from South Australia at the moment, as Hudson and Lawrence both go to war now as Butcher has taken off into the distance. There's that lock up for Ben Schutz again. That little 50-cent piece has now probably become more than a 50-cent piece on the front front left-hand corner rather of the RX-7.
Have a look at the Farness now. That's just going very, very nicely there as well. But car number 33, that's just fighting back from 13th in this one. So doing a good job. There's this Arena just in the background, and he's sliding it through turn number 3 as well. Ben Schutz gathering it all up. This guy knows how to do it. He'll just flip the visor up, get a bit of fresh air. There he has to. He's flipped the visor up, get a bit of fresh air, and the WPS racing car. Let's hope to see this doing a little bit more domestic duty in 2026 as well. The 49 slowing.
Yeah, Glenn Kennedy here on the outside. I think that's at turn number 2. I think he must have had some sort of component failure there as Ian McLennan has closed in on the 88 of Damon Milano at a rapid rate of knots. So they're going to now go up and over the top of Lukey Heights. This will be for 11th place. If Macca can make this stick, does he pull the trigger down the inside? Milano wisely covers the veteran, makes his number 88 Commodore as wide as he possibly can and says to Ian, there's no space at this end.
What it is good about this is 2 Victorian champions that are going head-to-head with it here with fairly similar equipment. They're bringing the Roaring Lion to the racetrack in the mist. They've got their headlights blazing, and the 88 doing a very, very good job.
Check this out. Tonks is slowing on the front straight. Something's not right with the number 91 Rod and Gun machine because Keys and Butcher have both gone through. The nearest challenger to Adam Poole is unfortunately cruising at the moment. Hudson and Lawrence are going to round him up. This is a disaster for Jared Tonks. He was almost penciled in for a top 3 finish here if he could just bring it home, and for some reason the Commodore is starting to suffer.
This is a great battle, Cade Lehman, Ben Schutz and Lawrence here. Have a look at Ben. He's lifting the left-hand front wheel about 30 centimetres off the ground here. They've got this car just set so soft so they can get the compliance of the Yokohama. He's pushed wide. It's going to be a braking duel down the inside. He'll hold the spot there. Ben's been doing GT3 racing in the Australian GT Championship. Tonks out, over and done with. That's sad to say, but he has exited the track at turn 4. The Rod and Gun racer just heads off back into the paddock here. McLennan and Milano, 2 Victorian behemoths, just going at it for the last lap. Damien Milano just doesn't look like he's had the car under him this weekend that he would like to have.
Not in these conditions, as it turns out to be anyway. It's not been a handy bit of kit over the course of the weekend, but just the differing conditions at 2 different parts of the racetrack has probably just made the 88 suffer a little bit. McLennan through into what is P11, now becomes P10 with the demise of the number 91 of Jared Tonks as he comes into the lane. Scott Cook hasn't given up hope of another spot here as he's right on the back of the Ben Schutz RX-7. The pair of them pursuing the Vodafone Tribute Livery Commodore of Cade Lehman onto the front straight. Here's a replay of what happened.
Well?
So this is down at turn 4. That's Bruce Cook who's had a bit of a moment there in the slippery conditions as Sarandis went past him after all of that.
That little escort there got all tangled up and got back underway. Caligari went through.
Oh no.
Shoots looking nice.
I just saw in the back a shot, sorry to cut you off, Darren, I just saw in the back a shot Scott Cook slowing. This is not going to be redemption for him. He's had heartbreak here before, and the Nissan Silvia was in a cruise mode down the front straight. It was going very, very slowly, so no silverware for him. Here's Butcher. We did say, can he get on the podium? He's on it right now. Could he make it position number 2 over Justin Keys, the Queenslander? Is having to play some defence down here at Siberia. The more nimble Butcher in the BMW tries to go the long way round. You're going to have to pick it up there. It gets tail happy on the exit. He loses about a half a dozen car lengths, maybe more. Keys survives for a little bit longer as we're on the second last lap of this over 2 litre final.
Have a look at this now. Butcher, the Victorian, he's just destroyed his run up the hill here. Keys is going to make him pay for that as well in the number 10. Poole is driven off in it. Under brakes now. The BMW is just coming into its own now. He's already gathered it back up. Covered off about another 6 car lengths around here. This is where it gets tough for Butcher in the BMW. Coming around the drive out of MG and then the drive onto the straight. And around he goes. At the top end of the track now, closing, and we get a bit more of a look now at the Pro Cut car and Damien Milano. They're starting to carve their way through in the top 10. Have a look at this, Stefanis now, the 88 versus the 33.
Great run off of the turn 11 for Mark Stefanis. He might be right in the wheel tracks here of Milano as he comes along onto the front straight. The leader has taken the last lap board. We are on the final tour of this 12-lap over 2 litre final. Adam Poole enjoys a very nice 4.5 second lead. Hasn't set the world on fire. He set a 1 minute 40.6 back on lap 9, and he got the margin out to such that he doesn't need to risk it any further. Into turn 4 he goes. Here's the battle for second and third. Butcher closing back in on Keys. Throws the kitchen sink at the braking zone. Scoots past the apex at turn number 4. He is giving it all he's got in pursuit of one more position. It might be coming at MG corner if he can get down the inside, if he can get close enough through this back section of the course. He's in with a shot, but I expect that Keys will cover it.
He certainly has, and he is absolutely rapid coming out of Siberia and up through this part of the track. Hayshed, and just lines it back up again now. Butch has absolutely thrown everything at it. You can't take anything away from him. Talking about taking anything away, do not take anything away from Adam Poole. He will snatch it off you. In fact, he won't. He'll say, thank you very much, I'll take that back off you, and I am going to take myself a Nationals Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, cast your eyes to the top of the track, centre of screen on the broadcast through Blendline TV. Approaching the Melbourne Australia Bridge. There it is, the checkered flag, and it is Poole, Adam Poole, and that is a terrific win for Viola Private Wealth in Yokohama. There is your Nationals champion for 2025, Justin Keys, and the Victorian, Andy Butcher, left no stone unturned. This battle has been raging over the last lap. Ben Schutz cranks it out sideways. It's going to hardly run onto the straight, and he just falls in behind Lehman. So there you have it, Steve de Vries.
Certainly do. A South Australian, a Queenslander, and a Victorian on the podium. Great to have 3 states represented, and Adam Poole with his second national championship in over 2 litre in the last 3 years. This great battle to the line. Lee Forrest, did he just manage to get Ashley Isarasina on the line, or did it go the other way? That was a line ball call there as we just cut back to the start-finish line for that shot. That was a very close run affair as this huge 50-car field still coming round the top part of the course. These were drivers here that were in the Repocharge, and they're still fighting away here. Anthony Martin has managed to go past the Repocharge winner in Andrew Barstow, and it looks like Andrew McMaster's trying to do the same. Wayne Twist, who finished second in that Repocharge, has unfortunately fallen behind all 3 of these drivers. So even though they managed to get onto the back of that grid, they have driven so well, and Anthony Martin has pulled a fast one here, and in fact, out of those drivers, he's going to bring that beautiful VH Commodore to the line ahead of all those that transferred in.
Terrific drive there, and the V8 does it very nicely here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. They're still streaming across the line. So your winner for 2025 is Adam Poole as all these cars make their ways off. Here's Adam Poole to Justin Keys, Andrew Butcher. That's your podium And boy, oh boy, that is 2 Holdens and a BMW. An RX-7, 4th place, Zach Hudson. What a bravely fought run there. They just lack the horsepower, the RX-7s these days. It's a sad fact. Jason Clements in the BMW. Great drive right across this weekend. Aaron Lawrence, again, that Nissan was driven very, very well. Cade Lehman, I guess he can wonder what was, but drove a really good race. That was a solid race, and I guess water finds its level. Battled it out with Ben Schutz. Ben passed him on the last lap. He battled back, and that was where those positions started to land and fall for those guys.
Certainly did. Some tales of woe. Have a look at this. This is down at turn number 4. Oh, that was a very late decision for Milano to pull out there, and almost got caught out in the braking zone against Ian McLennan there as Ian was defending, and he spun himself out there at turn number 4. That was on the last lap.
Gee, that's rare too to see Damien Milano do that. Have a look at these cars, 50 of them. The Improved Production Nationals for 2025 will be the last one shot on Yokohamas for the foreseeable future, and what a worthy workhorse the Yokohama tyre has been for this category over 25 years. The first Yokohama Nationals here in '99. As we go down to Victory Lane with Callum Brannigan.
What an enthralling finale for the over 2 litre IPRA Nationals. Adam Poole has made it 2 from 3 years, as we were pointing out before. Excellent commentary by Darren Smith and Stephen DeRoos throughout that highly energised race. We've got the cars lined up here, 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and Adam Poole over here from South Australia doing an absolutely brilliant job. He's got the helmet off. Let's try and grab him very quickly. Adam Poole, epic performance there, clean, clinical. That was an epic result for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, look, I'm wrapped. We're wrapped. It's been a big effort and big lead up with a lot of people, so to have a really clean weekend is awesome. So yeah, stoked. Makes up for the last year where we had an engine failure, so no, we're really happy. Thank you.
The car's been absolutely faultless as well. Like it's delivered at the end of the day, because the track is a car breaker, but you've pulled through for the win.
Yeah, look, nothing happens overnight, right? So we've been working on this thing for a long while. Got Ravage Raceworks, Dean Lilly, he looks after it. There's a lot of upgrades behind the scenes, so it's fast and it's reliable. It'll go 12 laps any day of the week. So,
Adam, congratulations. Thank you. All right, let's move on to Justin Keys. Mate, epic performance in the old VS Commodore. You're keeping Adam Poole nice and honest at the front there, but coming down from Queensland, you must be thrilled with P2 for that.
Oh, absolutely wrapped. Adam deserves another national crown. He's untouchable at the moment, but it was good to run with Jared and Andrew and everyone. Yeah, what an event. Thanks, everyone.
Butcher was pretty close there in the end there. Were you a little bit worried?
Yeah, because his car gets faster and faster as the race goes on, and mine gets slower and slower. So, yeah, it was hard work.
And sketchy conditions as well. It would have been hard to try and judge the light mist we've got here at Phillip Island at the moment.
Yeah, and there was a heap of gravel on the entrance to turn 2, and yeah, it was tricky, but it was good fun.
Congratulations, well done. Mate. And we've got Andrew Butcher here, mate. Epic performance, number 59 E46, puts it on the podium for the IPRA Nationals. Great effort, mate.
Lots of fun. Good to have a little 6-cylinder on the podium. It's just been a great weekend. It's really been good fun.
You've just been building and building and building. Were you envisaging a podium when you came into the weekend?
Oh, I knew I'd beat Adam Poole. It was going to be easy. It was, I hoped for a top 5. And some silverware is great fun. That's just more than I ever expected since I started racing, to be honest. So it's great.
Mate, happy celebrations tonight.
Thank you.
That's been an epic race, proudly supported by Viola Private Wealth, throwing their support behind the IPRA Nationals down here at Phillip Island as part of Island Magic, the 35th anniversary of this event.